Put a shake on layaway. And your mother's so old, she done set you apart from just a plant. Your mom's handsome now, but you gotta take painkillers to comb my hair. Yo, God, that later for that. You got what I ain't oh, see that big? How much you earn? Them girls, man. I had a little story to tell you. Have you ever met a girl that you tried to date, wanted you to make love, she wanted you to wait? That makes it in a situation I was talking to the U.S. station. The lady my man was doing a pizza. And I told me in a short picture. I just understand your performance when I was talking to the crowd. It's who I met. Always put in a hand, come to the picture room so I can answer some questions to see if you find your proof. I asked her on this, she said, blah, blah, blah. She said, God kept me in a very deep flaw. After the perfection, she was insistent. I said, oh, yeah, like the show. She said, I was very good. I thought it told me she called it all that. Made me able to she had to have a say. And when I asked her, yet have a message on the she said, no, I don't. I only have a friend. Oh, I go for my voice. You got what I need. Oh, please, you get me. Oh, you get me. I might be followed forward at this time. I'll put you as a little thing could have been no problem. Since I have friends, that's the fact like Agnes, I go to Jermaine and Jack. Thinking about that, let's go into the story. About a dream on a lot that adore me. So we started talking, become familiar, spend a lot of time, so we can build a relationship. With some understanding, how it's gonna be in the future we was planning. Everything sounds so dandy and sweet. I had no idea I was in poetry. After this was established, everything was good. The school was over and she went back to school. I call every day to see how she went through it every time that I call her. She told me to it. I don't know when I picked up it, then I called it, then I think, yo, boy, that. Oh, he's just a flex. Oh, keep that. Leave the kid that. It was. You just want me. Baby, we all get to know. Just want me. Oh, baby, you just want me. So I came to college on a surprise visit to see my girl that was always squeezing about day. I know she was there to put some that stuff up to souvenir. I went to a gate that asked me was available. This guy made me feel out of visitors full. He told me where it was, and I was on my way to see my baby doll. I was happy to say. I robbed your front out the door and told me, yo, could you tell me where it's going to be? They showed me their part for the moment. I didn't know I was a such in advance. So I came to a room and opened the door. Oh, heck, guess what I saw? A very kiss of my girl in the mouth. I was so in shock, my heart went down south. So please listen to the message that I sent. Don't ever talk to a girl who says she just had a feeling, and 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 a feeling. Come in, your mom's is. I'm just letting her get it out of her system. Done? Oh, baby, you got what I need. You say he's just a friend, and you say he. Oh, baby, you got what I need. And you say he's just a friend, and you say he's just a friend. What up, Boyd? You got what you wanted. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. All right, you're my wires, right? That's a problem. Are you done? Can you lay down now? Nope. Sorry, I was cooking right up until stream time. How's everybody doing? What up, Pruitt? Wes Roth is really psyched about the GPT store. Okay. Now I'm prepared. My Stream Elements thing didn't go off. I'm not prepared. Are you done? Come on, dude. Work it out. Got work to do. You need to get down? Or can you lay down? Get down or lay down. Pick one. Okay, it's get down. Nope. 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 Don't do it. Nope. Back up. Back it up. Okay. Got a bunch of things to get. Nope. 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 You're on punishment again. Nope. 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 Get that little paw off. Nope. Back it up. Nope. 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 Okay. You're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna be here. Anything? Nope. 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 We got the Matt Wolf video for a little later about what's been going on at CES 2024. Got a new Dave Shapiro about post AGI education. And
Um, another video about the Figure 1 robot. Oh, get back. Get back. Ah, get. What up, Aswarp? This Friday, we're going to be talking with Dr. Yasmin and Talorx. Um, let me tell you, making focaccia, the Italian bread, such a pain in the ass. Like, and sourdough breads, like they're just such a pain in the ass. Anything that takes like a day to chill out in the fridge is like,
I'm sorry,
yo,
Dave. I'm afraid I
back it up.
can't do that.
Ah, ah, being
This
attacked.
mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
Back up.
I'm sorry.
What up, boy? Thank you for the 1,000 biddies. I'm being mountain lioned here. Come on, back it up. Back it up, back it in. Let me begin. I came to win. Battle me, that's a sin. Come on, Ferris. Knock it off. Do I gotta put you on the floor? No. She is just not having it. Oh. Is it worse that now I don't know where she is? Anywho. Yeah. Dr. Yasmin and Talorx is Friday, and like that. Anyways, let's get into it. Screwing around. So we didn't cover this. Oh, you can't see. God damn. Could OBS? Could anything work with me? Could just anything, 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 anything. Anyways, um, a private company launched a Moonlander, and if it lands, this would be the first time a private company has ever landed a lander on the moon. Every previous one has been like some governmental related entity, that kind of thing. Um, and the first space photo from the U.S. moon lander mission is a clear sign something is very wrong. The U.S., like you keep saying U.S.'s, it's a private company, but it's a U.S. company, so whatever. The U.S.'s first lunar lander in decades has met its doom after launching. It could be. After launching on Monday, Peregrine Mission 1 started leaking fuel. The company said that broken valve may have caused Peregrine's problems. And yeah, this part. The leak has been forcing the spacecraft thruster to operate beyond capacity to prevent it from tumbling out of control. Basically, if you're not familiar with the way that space works, when you're in space, anything that pushes on you in any direction can impart spin or yaw or any other kind of thing like that. And then in order to try and stay on track, you would compensate for that with the thrusters. If you've seen the Expanse is really good at this aspect of it. Is showing you what space travel would be realistically like. They did a really good job there, and you could see some of that. Nope, nope. this point, the goal is to get Peregrine as close to lunar distance as we can before it loses the ability to maintain its sun pointing position and subsequently loses power. Because you got to point those, the solar panels on the wings at the sun, otherwise they don't work. Failure of a valve, and that's like, space is not easy. Space has never been easy. Your Starlink died? The dish or the satellite that you were connected to? Oh. I am hit or miss with jokes, in case you hadn't noticed. Got you. In OpenAI copyright lawsuit news, OpenAI says it's impossible to create useful AI models without copyrighted material. Copyright today covers virtually every sort of human expression and cannot be avoided. No. Let go. If you won't respect my space, you have to get down. ChatGPT developer, this doesn't say anything about that, right? Like that is part of what you're saying there, boy. Training being part of fair use. They're just saying that they need, if you're going to train an AI model, if you're going to attempt to train something in the vicinity of human intelligence, then it needs access to, the vast sum of human expression. And the vast sum of human expression is still under copyright, right? Like there's a bunch of stuff that isn't, but there is more stuff that has been created in like the last 95 years than has been like created beforehand in that sense, if you follow what I'm saying. And so, yeah, even if it is legal for them to use it under fair use, it's still copyrighted. Fair use just is an allowance. Submitted to the UK's House of Lords Communication and Digital Select Committee. Because copyright today covers virtually every sort of human expression, including blog posts, photographs, forum posts, scraps of software code, and government documents, it would be impossible to train today's leading AI models without using copyrighted materials. What up, Aluminium? Last thing we want to do is turn AI into a black market tool. Like, yeah, because the models are already out there, right? Like there are so many models. Now that is a powerful cat, right? It is out of the bag, and all you would be doing, let's say for argument's sake that you could lock it all down as far as like your open AIs and your Anthropics and that kind of stuff. Do you think that the people who engaged in and are currently allegedly engaged in the mass amounts of piracy that currently exist, are going to respect your copyright rules regarding artificial intelligence, they are going to be the ones training these models, right? It will be open source on steroids. Say you train a 10 billion model on just one page of text, it's going to copy it very, very well. Yeah, like, and you're confining the your open AIs or whoever, because open AI wouldn't continue to exist under those conditions. But I'm sure someone would attempt to do a whole open source commons, public domain kind of AI to see if it could be done. But the frontier models will all be trained out there in the world, with no oversight, with no one looking at them, with no one engaged, because then that person has to admit that they downloaded all this, pirated data that they trained their model on. And it's only once somebody actually finds out about it, and then it'll, the government will issue forth a special dispensation, or it'll be in, one of the other countries that has a shorter copyright lifespan, or that just decides one day that, screw your copyright, we have AGI. So, yeah. Training AI models using publicly available internet materials is fair use, is supported by long-standing and widely accepted precedents. We view this principle as fair to creators, necessary for innovators, and critical for U.S. competitiveness. Also, if you're already doing illegal things, why not just combine identity theft with AI agents? Fake people doing fake jobs as fake corporations making tons of money. I can't argue with that hypothetical scenario that you just laid out. In the race for AI supremacy, China and the US are traveling on entirely different tracks. Beijing set the goal of being the global AI leader by 2030, but that was before the emergence of ChatGPT. Of the many events that stand out as noteworthy in online discussions across Chinese social media in 2023, it's perhaps the rise of ChatGPT that will prove to be the most significant. Although the chatbot made by the US-based OpenAI was officially launched in late 2022, it took until 2023 for its unprecedented growth to raise eyebrows in China, where the government has set the goal of becoming the global AI leader by 2030. Over the past decade, the focus on AI in Chinese society and digital culture has grown. Since the COVID-19 outbreak, AI implementations in schools, office buildings, and factories have rolled out and fast forward. AI facial recognition is employed in everything from public security to payment technology. Smart glasses and helmets make it easier for many workers to perform their tasks, and intelligent robots have become a common sight in China's service industry, in malls, restaurants, and banks. There seemed little doubt over who would win the tech race between the eagle and the dragon. And then came ChatGPT. It took months for China to launch its own alternative, models that seemed to lag behind their Western variants in multiple ways. Even the Minister of Science and Technology acknowledged that China's chatbots were struggling against their U.S. competition, and Chinese internet users were left asking why, given that China was meant to dominate the AI era. Experts and bloggers proposed different answers. Some suggested China was not the first to launch a ChatGPT like product because tech startups in China tend to focus on fast applications rather than lengthy research and development. Others said that the language model training in China was harder due to the rich and complex nature of the language. But many seem to agree that it was the political sensitivities of the Chinese online environment, which is closely monitored and subject to censorship, making development of ChatGPT-like platforms more challenging in China. Well, this was really like, were there restrictions? Sure. But like that's not like a secret or anything, and I feel like that if that was the one of the pillars on which they wanted to build their argument, that's an easy one. So, and I mean, Nvidia has done its level best that every time the U.S. does a chip ban, then they make a minor alteration to the chip and send a new chip out to China and like that. So you can sit on the shoulder, but you can't come down. Don't do it. Don't do it. In the summer of 2023, Chinese authorities proposed rules for generative AI, mandating that AI-generated content, whether images or text, must align with the core values of socialism and must not undermine state authority, harm national unity, or spread false information. Now, there are three things happening here, right? The undermining of state authority, harming national unity, or spreading false information. Now, spreading false information and is like knowingly spreading false information, that's obviously a problem. I agree that it's a problem. So on and so forth. Harming national unity is such a broad phrase that, like, and don't get me wrong, like, this is not a particularly unique issue to China, right? But, like, there are people in a variety of different countries that if you in any way impugn the reputation of that country, then you are by default to a group of people within that country harming national unity, right? And then undermining state authority, that's obvious. AI service providers were also mandated to prevent users from becoming too dependent on their services. In my opinion, they're behind because their markets are too restricted and planned, too much corruption involved trying to keep doing what it's doing. The opposite reason why they're good at doing mass infrastructure. I don't know. Like, see, like, what is corruption, right? How do you define corruption in a way that only applies to China and doesn't apply to the United States? You know what I mean? I completely disagree. I think that corruption is endemic to power structures. I mean, some of it is, right? Lobbying is codified corruption. You know what I mean? But the idea of corruption only being within lobbying of the laws, so do we. Right? Theoretically, I can go start a competitor to another company, but that company, which may have a greater footprint, pays taxes, has elected officials who are really interested in that company continuing to maintain its, solid position with the area, within the area, may make it more difficult for me to open my business because it's a competitor to them. There's corruption everywhere. I mean, I don't know. It's off the topic. Um, yeah, power corrupts, and all power systems have corruption in them by definition. Like, you can't not. Um, so yeah. The way AI is applied in the West is not necessarily suitable for the Chinese market. This is another thing, right? Like, what culturally works in one country, even, countries within the same relative sphere, doesn't necessarily work in another country because of those cultural differences. Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. Like, that goes back to this thing of the harming national unity and undermining state authority, right? Like, I understand that there are people who feel that in order to protect yourself from, bourgeois capitalist influence, you need, a dictatorship of the proletariat. This is what they tell me. But then the dictatorship of the proletariat being represented by an entrenched power class kind of feels like that misses the point. Yeah, I don't. I think we can do better than democracy. I think like consensus based democracy. That's why it says it on the sign when you come in. Um, and we could even possibly get better than that if we worked at it. Um, but I I definitely, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there's a lot of people out there who like that I personally question their ability to engage with the democratic process in a meaningful way. Um, but that falls far short of me saying we should take it away from them, right? We touched on this. Okay, so this is the rabbit. Who was here for when we saw the thing on the rabbit? It was in the Matt Wolf video. It was all blurred out. The Verge did an article on the rabbit. It depends on what part of Marx that you're reading, but like as far as like capital, you're not wrong. Um, but like he was definitely doing a description of or a critique of capitalism, right? Like I don't even know how much. I don't know. That's the rabbit. The rabbit. Is it a gizmo? Is it a gadget? Who knows? It's a rabbit. The Rabbit R1 is an AI powered gadget that can use your apps for you. Powered by a large action model. What up, MILF? The $199 R1 isn't just a chatbot, it's a device for doing almost anything potentially. What up, Towards Night? Welcome in, welcome in. Congratulations in your ongoing, what are you, 691 now? Like, that's impressive. There's barely anything that I enjoy doing every day for that long a period of time. So yeah, you're doing it. You're putting in the work. I can imagine. So, all right. So, what the fuck is this thing? Jesse Liu, the CEO and founder of an AI startup called Rabbit, says he doesn't want to replace his smartphone, at least not right away. His company's new gadget, a $199 standalone AI device called the R1, is so staggeringly ambitious. That's bold. Um, that Lou seems to think he can't help but replace your phone at some point. What is this thing? So as of today, wow, just like 20 minutes ago? Yeah, 45 minutes ago. They apparently have 10, I'm going to say that's 10,000. They sold 10,000 of the things. The R1 looks a little like a Playdate console or maybe a modernized version of one of those 90s era handheld TVs. It's a standalone gadget, about half the size of an iPhone with a 2.88-inch touchscreen, a rotating camera for taking photos and videos, and a scroll wheel button you press to navigate around or talk to the device's built-in assistant. It has a 2.3 gigahertz MediaTek processor, 4 gigabytes of memory, 128 gigs of storage, all inside a rounded body designed in collaboration with the design firm Teenage Engineering. All Rabbit says about the battery is that it lasts all day. So this is what it looks like. This is your scroll wheel, this is your camera, this is your touchscreen. Um, Surprisingly light, feels nicer than it looks. Buttons are clicky and satisfying. Okay. Software. Rather than a ChatGPT like large language model, Rabbit says Rabbit OS is based on a large action model, and the best way I can describe it is as a sort of universal controller for apps. Okay. We wanted to find a universal solution just like large language models, he says. How can we find a universal solution to actually trigger our services regardless of whether you're a website or an app or whatever? In spirit, it's an idea similar to Alexa or Google Assistant. No, you're not wrong, Aluminium. Like this is a puff piece without peer. Similar to Alexa or Google Assistant, it can control your music, order you a car. Just ask for what you want and let the device deliver. Okay, so it is a wrapper for apps. You know what I mean? Like, you would use this, you would say, I need a car, and it would go and open up your Uber app. Rather than build a bunch of APIs and try to convince developers to support the R1, though, Rabbit trained its model on how to use existing apps for itself. The large action model was trained by humans interacting with apps like Spotify and Uber, essentially showing the model how they work. The LAM learned what a settings icon looked like, how to know when an order was confirmed, and where the search menus are. All that can be applied to any app anywhere. It also has a dedicated training mode, which you can use to teach the device how to do something, and it will supposedly be able to repeat the action on its own going forward. You'll be like, hey, first of all, go to a software called Photoshop, open it, grab your photos here. What up, old Louser? Make a lasso on the watermark and click, click, click. And this is how you remove a watermark. It takes 30 seconds for Rabbit OS to process, and then it can automatically remove all your watermarks going forward. I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't feel like there's enough there. Like, the idea of an AI agent controlling the apps is cool, but I don't understand why this isn't an app, right? Like, why isn't this a device or a like an overlay for my entire phone? You know what I mean? And for $200, yeah, I would not be an early adopter of this. This looks more like a kind of thing where, like, would hang back, see how it develops, and then there might be something I'm missing, don't get me wrong, but like I'm not seeing it. I feel about this similar to how I feel about the transparent TV. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is just like so fresh and so like front end that it's not there yet for my feeble monkey brain to grasp. Hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, I will be here. First, I do the news, I do the articles, then we watch videos for the rest of the day, and that lasts until at least 8, sometimes 9, sometimes longer if chat gets me going. Okay, so apparently people aren't happy with this deal. SAG-AFTRA strike deal for AI voice acting licensing in video games at CES 2024. Another streamer had it in their title. They referred to this as a blunder. The deal with Replica Studios will allow actors to license their digital voice replicas to game studios. Under the deal, Replica Studios is like one particular studio who's going to do the voices, and then they're going to, then I assume, license those voices for them, right? Like they're going to do the recording, and then they're going to license it on their behalf. Like, Duncan Crabtree Ireland. Great name. Love that name. Like, with a hyphen in it. Duncan Crabtree Ireland. Who are you? Be as cool. Okay. You're just a regular dude. I was kind of like, nothing. I mean, he's a dude. But, like, this is Ferris. Hold up. Let me zoom in. Ferris is up here. Ferris will either sit on my shoulder, rub up against the mic, or lay on my chest and fall asleep. Ferris started out this stream rubbing up on the mic and then not. Yes, I have. The coconut crab, and I think there's a red crab similar to the ones that migrate across the tree crab tree. Got it. See, I can get jokes. I can do jokes. All right. Duncan Crabtree, Ireland, the union's top negotiator, said that the agreement paves the way for professional voiceover artists to safely explore new employment opportunities. Oh, I should zoom back in. for their digital voice replicas. The agreement comes as Hollywood is still grappling with the use of AI. Last year, SAG-AFTRA reached a deal with Hollywood studios to include AI protections. We know. As a result, studios are now required to pay actors and obtain their consent before using an AI-generated version of their likeness. There is no issue there. Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll get down. Nope. You can lay down. There you go. Just lay down. Be cool. Fall asleep. Are you still analyzing the rabbit? And keep your claws on my neck, dear. The deal has provisions for minimum rates, safe storage, and transparency requirements, as well as limitations on the amount of time that a performance replica can be employed without further payment and consent. This sounds great, right? I record my voice. It is used to train the thing. They can only use it for a limited amount of time, whatever that means, right? Like there are rules. And then at the end of that period, if I have an iconic voice, then they can license it some more. And then I get more money. And I don't have to do any work, and I just get money. That sounds great. I don't understand. Notably, the agreement does not cover whether actors' replicas can be used to train large language models, though Replica Studios was interested in pursuing such an arrangement. I mean, you could do that already, though. That's the thing. Like, why would I hire Chris Pratt to be the voice of Mario when I could hire, like, some random person? You know? But my point is that we already do it. Right? Like, there's a difference between featuring random jackass and featuring the voice of Chris Pratt. You know what I mean? Not to me, right? Like, there comes a point where I find a lot of people who do voice actor work overbearing, because their voice is so recognizable as them that it actually becomes a problem with my subversion of disbelief, like where I'm trying to get lost in the thing. But we already have that, you know, that, like, yes, you could generate a voice that sounds like Chris Pratt, but then you can't put Chris Pratt's name on it. And I think that's ultimately where we're at. My point is, if you're falling back to AI voices, why not make Chris Pratt but an octave lower at the savings of $2 million? Because then you can't put Chris Pratt's name on your whatever, right? I'm certain that's what it is. Call it Chris Pratt, but people will know the difference. It's a thing. It's a thing. I don't do that. What up, Carpe? It's Sam Rockwell. You know, it's that same kind of thing. I think it's Sam Rockwell and that exasperated, like, Moon. Sam Rockwell from Moon, that's who I want to voice, you know, my hero in my video game or whatever. I think that'd be great. Anyways. We have been talking to so many of the large I'm saying in capitalist market structure, if you can get 80% of the way there, you're going to take the savings. And what I'm saying is no. Right? Literally, they got Chris Pratt to be the voice of Mario for no reason other than it was Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt's name is what draws people in to see movies. Not all of them, but enough of them for it to make that financial sense. Right? Like that happened. The Mario movie happened. Even so, some well-known voice actors were immediately skeptical of the news, as the BBC reports. In a press release, SAG-AFTRA said the agreement had been approved by affected members of the union's voiceover performer community. I see your post. I'll get to you in a second. But on X, voice actors said they had not been given advance notice. How is this agreement passed without notice or vote? Encouraging allowing AI replacement is a slippery slope. I'm not a fan of slippery slope arguments, but I definitely understand. Like, did they have to get notice, or was there something in some other paperwork where they signed off on this? I'll make my own Chris Pratt, and I'm going to mob myself to all the media, especially the Mario movie. Yeah, that's fair. Saying that's the market today. When it changes and everyone is saving $2 million on their Chris Pratts, and you're not, you're going. That is always a possibility, but I don't know. Like that requires a long view that I don't have. We may stay with this idea again. I get excited when I see, like when we watched The Creator, right? And the only person that I recognized, what's her name from West Wing, and the other guy who played the Last Samurai, right? Like those are the only two people's faces that I recognized within that. And then Sturgill Simpson, but I didn't recognize Sturgill Simpson until I was reading about the movie afterwards and said Sturgill Simpson. I'm really bad with names, Kai. And what up, Kai? I am not good with names. Like, if I say an actor's name like Chris Pratt, it's because I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy like 10 times, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3, and that movie where he like travels through time to fight aliens, and fucking absolute abominations that are the Jurassic Park movies. And like I've seen a lot of Chris Pratt movies. I haven't seen any Kai Pewter movies. If you do one, let me know. I remember names for years, but I got to see her face a lot to remember it. That's fair. So yeah, I don't know why they didn't get a notice or a vote. If I could pay for permission to have an AI rendering of an A-list voice performance for a fraction of their rate, I will have next to no incentive to employ 90% of the lesser known working actors that make up the majority of the industry. That's not wrong, right? But those people could already theoretically be replaced by just make your own AI kind of thing that sounds kind of like that you want him to sound like. And I'm not saying that that's good. I'm saying that that's happening. I just think that, again, like, all this is nibbling around the edges. We need to get past it. We need to change the distribution system, and that is the only solution to these problems. Otherwise, you're just kicking balls down the road. Or cans, or whatever you do with things down the road. Certainly hope the video game companies will take this as an inspiration to help us move forward in that negotiation. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Duolingo. Duolingo cuts 10% of contractors, and that's just a wild sentence, right? Not employees, contractors. That's you getting fired by your app. About 10% of contracts, and not even fired, right? Offboarded. Jesus Christ. We no longer need as many people to do the type of work some of these contractors were doing. Part of that could be attributed to AI. That is the most honest about this process that I have heard any of these people be, right? Like it could be related to AI. Most times they say something more along the lines of it's just, part of our ongoing right sizing endeavors and so on and so forth. I will not say that possibly a manual execution of file deletion was done when a job fired me that I once worked at. I mean, I created all the content, so. And they shouldn't have fired me. Generative AI technology produce new content dramatically faster, such as the scripts to shows that teach languages. The company Ferris company also uses AI to generate voices within the app and has introduced a premium tier, Duolingo Max, with AI generated feedback and conversations in other languages. When I'm asked for my password list, when I leave a job, I specifically ask them for a list of files or services they need access to. It's not a complete list. That is not my fault. Fair enough. Fair enough. $600 full-time workers and no full-time employees were affected by the cutback. Of course not. You don't have to do anything with contractors. You can just end their contract. Which one was this? Gonna post this in the links from stream. I don't necessarily think that we need to go through all of it. I think this is actually the next. Yeah. Oh, what up, ATS? I don't think I went up to you when you came in. How Microsoft found a potential new battery material using AI. Advances in AI and high performance computing are changing the way scientists look for new battery materials. Artificial intelligence, large scale cloud computing, Microsoft and PNW National Laboratory. New solid state electrolyte, the kind of material that could lead to a battery that's less likely to burst into flames. Very cool. Than today's lithium ion batteries. It also uses less lithium. Very, very good. Which is getting harder to come by as demand soars for rechargeable EV batteries. Still a long road ahead to see how viable this material is as an alternative to traditional lithium ion. What scientists are most excited about is the potential for generative AI to speed up their work. This discovery is just the first of many materials they'll test in search of a better battery. The big point to make is the speed by which we got to a new idea, a new material. if we can see that kind of acceleration, my bet would be on that this is the way of the future to find these kinds of materials. And we've seen this in other places. Now, the jury is still out whether or not many of these materials are going to be useful, at least in the near term. But just the ability to create all these additional materials, like what was done with the Google platform, and then have an automated robot testing for them, it's going to lead you places. Okay, I think I'm not an idiot, but solid state batteries stating they have a reduced risk of fire is wild to me. How so much energy being stored without volatility? How does something with high potential energy not become unstable on its own? Why do batteries burst into flames? Thermal runaway. Batteries can burst into flames due to a process called thermal runaway. This process can occur when a battery becomes too hot, causing a chain reaction that can lead to a fire. Thermal runaway results in a rapid increase of battery cell temperature and pressure, according to the release, accompanied by the release of flammable gas. I think they do explode. Right? The solid state electrolyte is just less likely to burst into flames. And a lot of it has to do with how you use the device. Like, you know, if you've already got your phone under less than ideal conditions, you know, heat is supposed to dissipate through the body of the phone. Some of the, you know, like my phone case is rather thick because it's an Otter, and it could conceivably restrict the ability of heat to dissipate from that. Also, depending on where you keep it, you know, if you're charging it inside a backpack pressed between two objects, then there's going to be less room for that. Also, using the incorrect types of chargers with the wrong amperage, which is why, like, shameless plug, don't get money from them, but Anker, Anker, those are the people that I use for a lot of my products, because they work well and they tend to not cause fires. Well, yeah, I mean, but that is what happens over time. I mean, that is what you want to see, like, um, you know, stuff used to blow up more often, like the Hindenburg, right? When's the last time you heard of a blimp or a whatever? What up, Whistle? Anker is great. Anker's great for cables. Anker is always great. Is also great for like charge blocks. And I got a speaker. It's not a blimp is helium and dirigible. Or you might be able to do a hydrogen blimp as well. I don't know. I'm not a blimp tech. No, you're not wrong, old lobster. Like, we live in the future, and it's amazing. So, in this totally balanced and reasonable article right here, Steam's new AI rules will open the floodgates to a river of shit. Luke Plunkett has some views here. For the last 6 months, Valve has kept a tight grip on the release of AI games, or more accurately, games developed using some aspect of machine learning being released on Steam. Not anymore. I mean, I'm out here, Kai. I've seen, like, there's, like, already a lot of shit, you know? Like, I haven't heard good things about Starfield. That's all I'm saying. In July 2023, Valve said the games made using machine learning content were being denied a spot on the store, mostly because there is some legal uncertainty related to the data used to train the models. In other words, there are huge legal uncertainties surrounding the data. Okay. Huge, emphasis his, used to train the model, since so much of it was scraped from copyrighted work without the artist or owner's knowledge or consent. Despite those uncertainties being far from resolved, indeed, they've been in the headlines this week. Yes, about the thing we already covered. What up, Mousy? Valve have today decided to say fuck it and just let most of the games be released anyways. In a blog post, the company says that they needed some time to learn about the fast-moving and legally murky space of AI technology, and over those months have learned that it's fine or fine enough for Valve to start making money off games using machine learning content, at least. Here are the most important parts of the blog covering the rules Valve have implemented to try and cover their asses. We are updating the content survey. Survey now includes an AI disclosure, pre-generated, live generated. Valve uses disclosure in our review of your game prior to release. We're releasing a new system on Steam that allows players to report illegal content inside games. Who are they kidding with this? He asks hyperbolically. Valve's existing moderation is questionable at best. At time of posting, one of the store's most prominent sellers is a game about fucking your aunt and cousins. Like, I don't see any of this. You know what I see? I see, like, whatever is the big game that they're pushing, like Baldur's Gate or Diablo when it was a thing, like that, and, like, strategy games. And, like, what kind of digging are you doing that you end up seeing the aunt fucking game? That's all I'm saying. While another is an Alex Jones platformer. Update, to be precise, as in I told a little fib and now I'll clarify. They are number 4 and number 6 in Steam's new and trending section. And I wonder how much of new and trending is algorithmically driven by the stuff that you already are into. Well, maybe number 22 and number 23 are Alex Jones' experience and fuck your aunt game. I don't know. And we're expected to believe that just because developers have to promise not to include machine-generated content, they're going to adhere to that. And Valve are going to catch the offenders. And how is that reporting system even going to work while the legal uncertainties surrounding this tech remain? I think every single piece of machine-generated imagery in existence should be reported as illegal content. Wow. Am I supposed to just mash that button until it dissolves into dust? It sounds like you need a joint and some outside time, my guy. If you thought the Hawken reboot was bad, was the Hawken reboot bad, Kai? I know you liked Hawken. I missed Hawken and then I didn't really get back into it because I had already moved on. Wait until every second-rate management, exploration, survival, and strategy game is full to the brim with machine-generated models and artwork. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. And no multiplayer. Fair enough. Yeah. Um, and you're talking to characters spewing machine generated lines back at you. Just like machine generated imagery itself, in 6 to 18 months, we're going to be up to our eyeballs in soulless derivative games full of crud, smooshed together by a computerized casserole dish. Whatever floor we'd settle on with asset flips, we're going to blast straight under it. It's going to suck. Luke Plunkett, co-founder of the good website Aftermath. Okay, worker own. Yep, this is you. Oh, I probably could have clicked at the top there. All right, I'm not going to bag on you. Used to be with Kotaku. Okay. Motherboard, Verge. I'm not the guy to answer that question, Boyd. I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish them all the best with their future endeavors. Um, I live in the now, and in the now, a lot of the shit that this dude's complaining about already exists, and it existed before AI, right? Like if I type strategy game into my phone because I want to play something that's like a deeper version of like Risk, you know, something with like some actual strategy to it, I'm going to get a ton of games that are like Clash of Clans or things of that nature, which aren't strategy games, at least as I would define them. Maybe they are, and I'm just old. What up, K-Powers? I am not clicking on that link. I saw that. It just seems like I don't know. Now that sounds interesting. Yeah, apparently, like, VW is putting ChatGPT into their phones or into their cars, and I don't get it. Boop, boop, blue. Boop, boop, blue. Computer scientists from NTU have found a way to compromise artificial intelligence chatbots by training and using an AI chatbot to produce prompts that can jailbreak other chatbots. Process can be automated, creating a jailbreaking LLM that can adapt to and create new jailbreak prompts even after developers patch their LLMs. Their finding may be critical in helping companies and businesses to be aware of the weaknesses and limitations of their LLM chatbots so that they can take steps to strengthen them against hackers. Well, there you go, Kai. Like I'm assuming now that the budget offices are going to assign the proper amount of funding for the cybersecurity sections of their companies, and that security will become our watchword. Right? That's how that works? Oh, I could imagine. And VW vehicles to converse with drivers via ChatGPT by mid-year. Again, I don't like. I have a phone, and I can put my phone in the holder, and I can converse with ChatGPT. From raising the temperature when it hears I'm feeling cold. Okay, so we're talking about actual integration. All right, homie, take care, have fun. AI can recognize and respond to a range of demands, according to executives from Volkswagen and Cerence, partner with Volkswagen on the technology. Customers can now adjust functionalities from their vehicle without touching a button. Okay, so they're using ChatGPT as the conversational interface. Which again, I think you're going to see a lot of that, right? Like, conversational interface is eventually, baby, you can drive my. So yeah, conversational interface is the wave of the future. I have no doubt. And that's it for the news. That's it for the articles. Articles are done. Let's see. Matt Wolf, live from CES. Not exactly live, but definitely from CES.
Just a load of
Just back that up. Back it up. Make it big.
So I'm out here in Las Vegas for CES 2024. I'm in my hotel room. The lighting is absolutely horrible, but there has been just a load of insane announcements already from this event. The day I'm recording this, Tuesday, January 9th, is actually the first day of CES, but they let media personnel in on Sunday. So I've been here Sunday and Monday already, and they've already made a whole bunch of announcements around cool new tech and AI, and I'm going to jump over to the computer here, and we're going to review some of the cool announcements that have already come out of CES before day one even started. So let's get into it. So when I first got here on Sunday, they had a media preview day where they let us walk around the floor at the Mandalay Bay. A handful of companies, not all of the companies, I'd say probably like 10% of the companies that are at CES had little mini booths set up, and we were able to walk around and get early sneak peeks at a lot of the tech that they were going to be showing off at CES. There was a few interesting things going on in this hall, but I feel like the real big guns, the real crazy, insane tech, they save for the main event. One of the cooler pieces of tech that I came across during this first day was this Sear Grills Perfecta. And what this is an AI-powered grill. You can put your steak in it.
Okay, so now I know what this thing was, the toaster that we saw on Monday. ChatGPT is AI you talk to that'll prompt the car driving AI on your behalf. How do we troubleshoot when something silly breaks? That's above my pay grade, ATS.
Basically tell it what temperature you like your meat cooked at. It will cook it to that temperature, and then it's got a reinforcement learning algorithm in it where after your meat is cooked, you eat it, and then you give feedback to this machine on how you liked your steak. Did you feel it was too dry, too moist, overcooked, undercooked? You give it this feedback, and then the next time it cooks steak for you, it actually uses AI to adjust and try to cook it better for you. And every single time you cook on it, you give it a little bit of feedback, and then it tries to improve the quality of the cook with each new cook through. I thought that was pretty cool tech. I also got a sneak peek of this in
I think it's like a neat toy, right? But like, if I'm being completely intellectually honest, right? Like the idea, is that you will eventually have a robot that will do the thing that in this is like, I don't know if that thing is even capable of doing what it says. I was grading how the meat sack prepared the dish prior to cooking. Did you put some salt and pepper on your steak at least? Did you do something? Or did you just pull it out of the freezer and slap it into the machine? Though I've heard that some people actually cook from frozen for some reason. I don't know. Right. I don't know. Yeah, again, like I see it as part of like some future potential, but like it feels gimmicky.
Enchanted Tools robot, but I actually couldn't hear what they were saying, so I don't know much about it yet. I'm gonna go and try to find this.
Love the robot that balances on the ball. Totally unstable, but like as a toy kind of thing, or like, who doesn't love the robot on a ball?
Again on the main floor during the main event and see if I can get more details about what this little guy actually does for people. And then we moved on to Monday.
He was touching the robot. That's off limits. You can't, you gotta let it robot on its own, otherwise it's not legit.
Monday was Media Day. Media Day was the day where all sorts of companies made their big announcements for CES, the new technology that they're unveiling, and there was a whole bunch of really interesting panels, like this one that I watched that was talking about the crossover of AI and mixed reality. Then on Monday evening, they had this event called PepCom, which was another sort of media-only
Yeah, you have the ball, and inside at the top of the gripper thingy, you just have some rollers, and the rollers, depending on how the rollers roll, it propels the ball. It's cool. It's just not super stable. I mean, theoretically, you could get there. Yeah. So, but do I like it? Would I like a little friendly helper robot around the house that rolled around on a ball? Of course I would.
Preview where it seemed like a lot of the same companies from Sunday night were there, but also a whole bunch of different companies were there on Monday night previewing their tech. And there was some pretty cool tech on display during this Monday event as well, like this Helix aircraft, which was pretty cool to see in person, and this AI companion with a
or to use the AI avoidance technology that we saw on Monday to avoid the dog, right? It needs to be able to avoid the dog. This is spooky. Why? And like I feel like a lot of this crap is going to end up getting us lost in the weeds. Some scuffed ass Magneto, exactly.
Face that you can actually have conversations with, and it will look at you and talk back with you. I personally tried to have a conversation with it, but it kept putting a notification on the screen that it needed an update. I actually didn't get to experience this. I just kind of saw it and felt like a weirdo trying to talk to it. But let's get into some of the big keynotes that happened, because this is where all of the big...
It's like, I don't understand why you had the strip for the eyes and the strip for the mouth, right? Like, just give me the full iPad experience, right? You're just a tablet. I'll talk to a tablet. It's got the camera. Yeah, this is the issue that I have, is this inventing something to be different just to be different. This motherfucker really just grabbed my beard to balance herself. Good, those are regions with the information, but it's, yeah, like that was obviously, and because there was an update on the one part and not on the other part, that indicates it's two separate screens as opposed to just one screen, right? With a face on it, with an AI avatar face. I'm with you.
Announcements from CES came
They
out.
don't.
We had announcements
Nope.
from companies like
Nope.
Sony and LG and Samsung.
Nope.
So let's go ahead and start with AMD. One of their main announcements was this AMD Ryzen 8040 series, which is designed for AI and actually being able to run AI locally on your computer. They also announced another brand
you're
new
not
chip,
wrong,
the
Answorth.
8000G series, with a neural processing unit built in.
Today, we are announcing the AMD Ryzen 8000G series processor. This product combines the power of a discrete graphics card with the Zen 4 CPU cores and the world's first ever NPU in a desktop processor.
They also announced a brand new graphics card that is designed to compete with NVIDIA's range of 4070s, 4080s, things like that.
Today, we are announcing the Radeon RX 7600 XT with 16 gigabytes of memory.
So you're saying that the NPUs are just the APUs, right? Because I looked into that and it sounded like they were different things, but I defer to your superior knowledge.
Is future ready for years to come. It will be on shelf later this month in January. The 16 gigabytes of graphics memory offers a wider breadth of options for content creators and AI applications. It also enables popular large language models such as the Llama 13 billion parameter model that won't run on graphics cards with less RAM.
And they also brought out somebody from Microsoft and talked about some of the integrations AMD are doing together with Microsoft. They also showed off this demo, which we actually saw several months ago at a different NVIDIA keynote, where a person walks up to a character in a game and starts to have a conversation with that character, but it's a completely unique conversation because it's all using AI.
Apparently, this is going to be crap, according to Luke. Luke says that having a completely unique conversation with the AI avatar is a bad thing. Okay.
AI language models to have the conversation. This is tech created by Convai, Convai, somebody that I actually had on one of my previous episodes here on this channel. They also showed off a whole bunch of improved graphics for those of you that are gamers, but I'm going to leave the gamer talk about CES to gamer YouTube channels. They then also talked about a
My
partnership
bad.
with iStock Photo.
Today, iStock by Getty Images is releasing a Gen AI service built on NVIDIA Picasso, our AI foundry for visual design.
There it is. Remember? Getty was mad. Now they're not mad anymore.
The iStock service allows anyone to create 4K imagery from text using an AI model that is trained on Getty Images' extensive catalog of licensed, commercially safe creative content. The generative AI service is available today at iStock.com with advanced editing features released.
Like, by the time that these court cases that are currently in there, if they get all the way to the end, by the time they get there, the universe will look completely different. And no one will care. For one reason or another. Good and bad and all that kind of stuff. It will just, the landscape will be so different that the lawsuits won't matter.
Releasing via API.
They also announced their new RTX Super Series, which are the RTX 4000 range of GPUs, but a lot less expensive than what they used to be.
Creators can generate video with stable video diffusion 1.5 times faster and images with stable diffusion XL 1.
If we live in a world with on-demand whatever, and like everyone's material conditions are satisfied, like what What do you? Yes, you won. Congratulations. Here's your pat on the back and a participation trophy.
1.7x faster. The RTX 4080 Super features more cores and faster memory, giving it a
Like, I would swear that this dude is AI generated.
7x faster. The RTX 4080 Super features more cores and faster memory, giving it a performance edge at a great new price of $999.
Now, probably one of the areas I'm most excited about from CES this year is some of
Still, the last time that I talked about the hands thing, like, was the last time I saw it. But yeah, like, I mean, I still see, like, there's anti-AI stuff in my Facebook feed from friends, and I just keep my mouth shut and move the fuck on, right? Like, there's no winning that argument. There's nothing good will come from it. So, just moving the fuck on.
of the advancements in robotics. I'm super excited to get down onto that show floor and find as many cool robots that are AI powered as I possibly can. And NVIDIA did make some announcements about their new robotics stuff.
I would like to share how the infusion of generative AI into robotics is speeding up the ability to bring robots from proof of concept to real-world deployment. For the past few years, autonomous robots powered by artificial intelligence are being increasingly utilized for improving efficiency, decreasing costs, and tackling labor shortage. Logistics, warehouses, and manufacturing are the first use cases that had the biggest need, and today we can see hundreds of thousands of deployed robots, with each of them getting smarter as time goes on.
In their keynote, they go on to explain how they're helping with advancing robotics using their NVIDIA Isaac system. Again, I'll be talking a lot more about robotics over the week as CES goes on. That is one of the rabbit holes I'm trying to dive deep down while I'm at this event. But let's get into some of the really cool tech and gadgets that they've shown off and made announcements around. Some of them AI focused, some of them not. This is just the stuff that I've found to be really, really cool. And to keep this video from going 2 hours long, I'm just going to kind of cut between some really, really cool clips from these keynotes here.
The auto open door on many of our home appliances responds to hands-free gestures. Our mobile devices can provide auto-generated subtitles during calls. And our TVs and displays now offer audio subtitles, a new AI-enabled text-to-speech feature. On top of that, I'm happy to share that we have upgraded our Relumino mode on Samsung TVs with a new feature, Relumino Together.
Okay. Like, you're not doing a good job beating the Big Brother allegations.
Feature. On top of that, I'm happy to share that we have upgraded our Relumino mode on Samsung TVs with a new feature, Relumino Together. Relumino mode is a viewing mode made specifically to aid users with low vision. Relumino Together will enable users of all abilities to watch TV together with or without visual adjustments.
We're taking this technology one step further with our new transparent micro-LED. Clearly, our screens are evolving and redefining the standards in premium visual display technology. Our 2024 screen lineup comes with on-device AI and intelligent integration across devices, allowing you to upscale the experience. The latest Samsung Neo QLED 8K is a beast of an AI screen with our most advanced Neo QLED chipset to date. The NQ8 AI Gen 3 chip features a neural processing unit with over 500 neural networks.
Yeah, like, okay, but what does it do, right? I mean, that sounds great. You fit AI in there and neural and all the other words, but what does it do? Tell me what it do.
That's 8 times more than our previous model.
Oh, it's got 8 times more. Oh, well, there we are. told me that it looks at pixels and makes new ones. So, like, does it improve pixel density? I don't know. Again, I'm still running off 1080p's, right? Like, that's where I'm at. This 4K and 8K shit. I saw a 4K years ago, right? Like, I'm in BJ's and a BJ, if you don't have that, Costco big box store, right? And I saw the first time I had ever seen a 4K TV, and like it was one of those, like the shot of like a seaside city coastal area kind of thing, and there were boats moving past and there were little tiny people walking out, and I could like see the tiny little people, and I was really impressed, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I'm going to do with that. Right? Like, if I can get a 40-inch TV for nothing because nobody wants them, they want 4K, 8K, 16K, whatever K, all the Ks, I'm cool. I'm happy. I run this entire stream and everything I do off a 32-inch 1080, some weird brand. It requires so little power now that I swear to fucking Christ, these features are already in the TV you own, and they're just trying to leverage the hype. Yeah. I know that there's a thing, like if you get a Vizio and you have like a PS5, that allegedly it does special PlayStation Sony crap in between them. I don't know. It all looks great. It all looks great. I played Pong. I played Super Mario Brothers on a Nintendo. You really don't have to get that far to impress me.
Latest TVs are even smarter. The NPU of this processor runs at double the speed of our previous model. Visuals
twice
are
as fast.
strikingly sharp and detailed, thanks to Samsung Neo QLEDs.
It's like if you look at the large thing of laundry detergent and it says 20% more, and then you read the fine print, it's 20% more than the one that's 20% smaller, right? Like that's what I'm hearing out of this. What does it do,
AI
my guy?
upscaling and AI motion enhancer technologies. Sound and dialogue are optimized based on Active Voice Amplifier Pro, which analyzes and adjusts voice tracks against background noises. And if you're big into gaming,
that could be cool.
Samsung Neo QLED's AI engine instantly optimizes picture and sound quality based on the game or genre you want to play. We're also
that could be cool.
introducing the new Premiere 8K with an expansive 150-inch display. This projector is the world's first to feature wireless 8K transmission. Now, another exciting addition to our lineup is the Music Frame. This customizable speaker seamlessly integrates into your space. With dual built-in woofers and intelligent audio processing, it syncs effortlessly with your Samsung TV and soundbar via Q Symphony. Leveraging Samsung's AI sound technologies, Q Symphony allows all of your compatible speakers to augment bass.
Okay, so it's a picture with a speaker built into it, which is cool, don't get me wrong. But where does the AI come into? Like, is it just how it integrates with the other things? I mean, I guess that's cool. I mostly listen to music in my own head with the headphones.
And surround sound while intelligently adapting to the acoustics of your home. I'm excited to introduce the new Ballie. It is your true AI companion. With more advanced intelligence, Ballie can come right to you and project visuals on your wall. It can also help you interact with other connected devices or take care of hassles like turning switches on and off.
Hi.
Okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. And like, again, some of that stuff is cool. I like the idea of the little robot that can project something on the wall. That's fun and fine. But like, every single smart home system already has routines that you can set up within it to turn on light, or I can tell the, you know, the speaker, right? Like if you got an Alexa or whatever, you can tell the speaker to change the lighting. Why do I need another robot to do that? Like this is the issue, is when you're like doubling up on things that already exist in a competent way. You know what I mean?
Oh, hi, Petro. Termina de trabajar y que descanses. Muchas gracias por tu esfuerzo.
Connect?
Hey, Amy.
Can I call you back soon?
Sure.
This is the bespoke 4-door flex refrigerator with AI Family Hub Plus. With a 32-inch screen, it can help you explore all the connected possibilities available.
The monitor that I run this stream off of is the same size as the monitor that's on this refrigerator. Okay, go ahead.
In the kitchen. And this year, we're introducing AI Vision Inside. It uses the power of connected intelligence to make your fridge's internal camera a little smarter. With AI Vision Inside, your fridge can recognize what goes in or is taken out, and it will update your food list. The fridge can also send you a notification for items you've set up with an expiration date. This can help you use up the ingredients
That's actually really
before they
good.
go bad, reducing the amount of food.
That's actually really good. Like, or like how something gets slid behind something else and then you forget about it. Because especially if you're like me, and like if I can't see it, then it might as well not even exist anymore. It's fallen into the shadow zone. So like I like that as an idea. Like I like it being able to keep track of the inventory of the magic box. And don't have to open the fridge to get that inventory, you know what I mean? I understand that it's a real first world problem type situation, but you know,
Food that goes
like I buy a lot of things in bulk, and then I schedule out meals, and I have multiple people that I have to feed and all that kind of stuff.
To waste. All of this extra intelligence gets even more helpful by connecting AI Vision Inside with Samsung Food. With a better understanding of what's on your shelves, as well as your preferences and dietary needs, Samsung Food can propose new recipes, including ways to use produce
And that's
before it
cool.
expires, or fun family
Always a
recipes
fan of new
that you've
recipes.
saved to your profile. Samsung's new bespoke AI laundry combo not only frees up space at home, but it also uses smart technology.
And I'm going to fight whoever the first marketing minion who got the term bespoke out there into the world. I'm going to fight them. I will fight the Creator Clash 4, UFC 279. I don't care. Just, yeah, I'll fight him again. There was a time when I never heard the word bespoke, right?
Automatically senses fabric types and soil levels and adjusts the wash time and detergent as needed. We're also launching a new AI-powered robot vacuum. Meet Samsung's latest bespoke JetBot combo.
Samsung also announced a whole bunch of cool features for vehicles, smart sensors, and computer vision, and some really cool stuff there. And it seemed like Samsung.
I hear it a lot because I am of an age when bespoke man boxes are like for my demographic, like that I should be ordering a monthly box that shows up with a bunch of crap in it. And I'm good, homie.
Samsung's presentation was going to be a tough one to beat because they had so many cool AI announcements. But LG and Sony
Only
both
if
had
it's
keynotes
robusty.
and announcements to make on Monday as well. So let's check some of those out, starting with LG.
We are introducing a smart home AI agent designed to seamlessly fit into your daily life. With its affectionate intelligence, it can take care of your smart home, communicate with you, and even show you empathy. With autonomous driving technology, its two-legged wheels, our AI agent can navigate effortlessly around the house,
Go see what's in
greeting and talking with you, and sharing its personality through a range of motions and facial expressions. With the mic, camera, multiple sensors, it understands home environment such as temperature and humidity.
I mean, because literally no one requested it, old lobster. Like, I have, I made a place where people could make suggestions. I make the places. I ask, and no one suggests it. Like, don't you even think about jumping on my computer. That's what a cat looks like when it's powering up its rear engines in order to launch itself on top of the computer. You want to go see what's in the kitchen? You go see what's in the kitchen the other way. Okay.
In the morning, it gives you medication alert. When you come back home, our adorable AI agent is there to greet you at the front door. It also gives you a briefing of the home. And don't worry, everyone
Be
you're
careful
home
what
alone,
you ask for.
it can make an emergency call if needed.
Now, this was really one of the showstoppers of CES so far, is this transparent TV here.
No, it isn't. It really isn't. It is not. It doesn't make any sense.
Allow me to introduce you to LG Signature OLED
You already
T,
do a bunch.
the world's first 4K wireless transparent OLED TV. OLED T creates a sense of openness. The TV no longer has to dominate the room. This heightens the relationship between...
No, it's still a defined box. It still has, like if it was perfectly transparent and hung on the wall, then you could say that. But the act of it having its goddamn, it's got the strip. We watched this on Monday. If you weren't here on Monday, I'm sorry. Spoilers. There's a box that's like 6 inches wide in the length of the bottom going on the bottom that never, you can see it right there at the bottom, right in here, that kind of splits the top part of the Eiffel Tower with the bottom, and then that's where the black screen is stored. So there's a black screen that comes up. I at least can understand the one from Samsung, which was just a clear screen, even though, again, I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't make any sense, but at least I can understand. This thing made the computer, made the TV fat again, or thick. And it's like an aquarium, right? If you had an aquarium that was 6 inches thick, that's what this is. He's wrong.
TV and the space it inhabits. OLED T also becomes an object of design. You can place it in locations unimaginable until now. And with the wireless Zero Connect box, there are no cables to fuss with wherever you place it.
I want you to picture yourself behind the wheels of a car.
What places am I going to put a TV that were unimaginable before that I would want to put a TV in? It's up against a wall, across from the couch.
Equipped with LG's cutting-edge digital cockpit system, display, AR/MR platform, AI, and 5G telematics technology. As soon as you get into your seat, Your car recognizes you through affectionate intelligence, displaying your own personalized screen to greet you. Once your navigation is set up to your preferred destination, and while driving, you and your passengers can easily monitor what's going on at home. You can even check in on your pets and feed them too.
And now let's see some of Sony's big announcements. We're definitely seeing some themes form here.
We are happy to announce a new solution for spatial content creation with a crisp viewing experience and intuitive interaction for 3D design. We are enabling creators to shape and edit 3D models. We are expanding the creation space by overlaying virtual objects into physical spaces. With seamless access to virtual objects, creators can work in real space with an immersive development experience.
And then
I mean, now that is cool, right? Like, the virtual reality design experience is something that I do think that I would like. Being able to rotate it and really get into that, like, and zoom in and zoom out and all that, and not do it on the flat screen, but rather do it like that kind of thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I suppose an actual digital graphic designer would have to weigh in as to whether or not this was just some weird friggin' toy.
Experience.
And then there was this moment during the Sony presentation where they actually drove a car on stage using a PlayStation controller.
I will using this. This is a PlayStation controller. Using this controller, I'd like to show you an aspect of the software-defined vehicle.
No, it 100% is, Mouselander. If you don't have fully automated driving, then having any kind of video screen running is a safety issue. It's a distraction in and of itself. Something that could override your safety instinct is going to cause you to look at the screen when you should be looking at the road. Nope. I'll put you on the floor. Okay. It is. It really is. Like, the fact that you have to look down, you're taking your eyes off the road. So the idea of the heads-up display has a lot of value to it, right? Like, being able to stay within this framework, use the button, not even using the buttons on the steering wheel. This is why I can appreciate a voice command related to control of the car, right? Like, within what Volkswagen is at least theoretically doing, like, if I'm driving along and I'm cold and I can just say increase temperature 3 degrees, 4 degrees, something like that, that has value. Look at mirrors has safety value, but diverts your forward attention. The more we enhance the driver with technology, the more information we can accurately process. Yeah, and that's why, like, when you lay out your rear view and your two sides, you want to lay them out so that the vision in the mirror, like, overlays, right? So, like, this is my side mirror and this is my rear. I can see an object as it transitions from one of these to the other at the same time, Like, there, as far as I can tell, there should not be a people talk about they're in my blind spot. I don't think you've set up your mirrors properly in order to see all the things that you should be able to see from this position when you're driving, right? Like, I should be able to see all the things. I don't have a blind spot, and I don't know if that's just because my vehicle doesn't have a blind spot or if my mirrors are just set properly. But like I generally don't really have to turn my head unless I'm going to make a lane change because then it's signal, mirror, over the shoulder, go. That's smog. That's from the Smith driving thing.
Well, we've been able to talk to our cars through voice command for quite some time now, right? So what's interesting and promising today is that with the introduction of generative AI and cloud-scaled computing, there is unlimited potential to amplify creativity, increase personalization, and transform the in-vehicle experience. So we're going from buttons on a screen to conversational and multimodal, from siloed apps and manual integrations to integration by default. Instead of the in-vehicle experience feeling like a separate state, you can now bring your digital life into the vehicle with you.
Now, so far, this has just been a
Yeah, so by way of example, how like something like that means something to me, I will have Spotify, for instance, playing on my phone, in my ear, then I get in the car, and it's already set up to connect to my phone, and then I just have to push the button, and then I'm listening to the same Spotify as I travel. When I get out of the car, automatically re-engages, the earpiece, that kind of stuff, right? Like, and then when I come into the house, if I wish, then I can engage with a speaker. A little smoother integration would be totally appreciated. Depends on the car. XUVs and hatchbacks have a weird C-pillar issue where your wide rear view has car interior side of the pillar as well as the back. I drive a Soul, an 18 Soul, which I guess is a crossover. I don't know. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Fraction of some of the announcements they made at these big keynotes. These are just the things that kind of got me the most excited, that I thought were the funnest things to show off. But you can find pretty much all of these keynotes on YouTube in their entirety. Just kind of search the company plus CES. If you search Sony CES 2024, LG CES 2024, etc., you'll find the entire keynotes if there's any that you want to dive deeper on. I just am at this event here. I'm in my hotel room. It's very difficult to create videos in this environment, but I wanted to share some of the coolest things from the media days before the actual event started. As soon as I finish recording this video and getting it online, I'm headed back down to the show floor to find some of the coolest tech that I can possibly find. Now, there was one more quick announcement that I wanted to share with you. In last week's news video, we talked about this company, Rabbit Tech, that had some sort of new AI device.
Okay,
well, they
sell
made
me
their
on the
announcement
Rabbit thing
today about what that Rabbit device actually is. So here's a quick peek at that.
This is the Rabbit R1. Designed in collaboration with Teenage Engineering, the R1 is a fully standalone device, primarily driven by natural language. It is simple to use. R1 is equipped with everything you need to interact with you and perceive your surroundings. It comes with a touchscreen, a push-to-talk button, and an analog scroll wheel, a microphone and speakers, and a computer vision-enabled 360-degree rotational camera we call the Rabbit Eye. It is Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capable, and it has the same card slots that supports global 4G LTE network. I can ask Rabbit for anything, just like if I'm using...
I mean, and maybe, again, maybe I'm not the demographic. Maybe there is people who want to use their phone less, right? They don't want the phone aspect of it. They want what the phone does without the phoneness. Maybe. But how can I use this? It's Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but it's not cellular. So then how do I use this if I'm not at home and not on Wi-Fi, right? In that scenario. Or does that not exist anymore? As far as I can tell, it might not. Oh, okay. So it does have a cellular aspect. I missed that then.
Using ChatGPT. The difference, though, is the speed. With RabbitOS, I get a response 10 times faster than most of the voice AI projects. Rabbit answers my questions within 500 milliseconds. With the push-to-talk button, you don't need to say anything to wake it up. Just press and hold the button and talk, like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, and I'm not being fair. I'm doing thinking and analysis instead of listening with a bunch of this stuff, so that's on me. I'll hold that.
Nature of the reality.
The nature of reality is a topic that has captivated the minds of philosophers and thinkers throughout history. According to Bertrand Russell, reality is composed of hard data derived from sensory experiences and logical analysis. It is the amalgamation of our perceptions, thoughts, and the external world.
Now, supposedly this thing can actually do tasks for you. So, for example, you can ask ChatGPT
and I'm not a fan of the color,
and it will give you answers, but then it won't actually act on those answers for you. This one, you can actually tell it to book you a reservation or send an email on your behalf or things like that, which is something you can't do natively inside of ChatGPT really yet. I mean, I guess you kind of can with some plugins, and I'm sure you will be able to with future GPTs, but that's what this Rabbit is. And I'm actually kind of curious, what do you think of this Rabbit? Would you actually carry around a second device like your mobile phone and this sort of AI device that you can talk to and have it do things for you? Would something like this actually replace your phone? Or do you think we're better off just kind of putting this tech into future phones? That's kind of where my thinking is. I'm probably going to order one of these and we'll demo it on a future video. I don't know. I have a hard time believing something like this will catch on, but I'm always curious about your thoughts on what you think about stuff like this. And there you have it. There's sort of my recap of the first couple media days of CES before I've actually gone into the main event. I'm about to head down there right now. These videos aren't going to be nearly as polished as my normal videos. I am in my hotel room recording them with a different mic than I normally record with, on a different computer than I normally record with not the best lighting in the world. And I'm not sending them to my editor. I'm just kind of editing them real quick so I can get them online as fast as possible for you. So the polish isn't going to be there on these videos. I just want to report on what I'm finding and show off the coolest stuff for you. And if you want to see more of those kinds of videos, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be posting more content from CES. Once CES is over, I'm going to get back to my normal routine of sharing the latest AI news and the coolest AI tutorials. So if you're not already a subscriber, subscribe now. And if you like videos like this, give this one a thumbs up. And also check out futuretools.io, where I curate all the coolest AI tools and news. And that's all I got for you. I got to head down to CES and check out some more cool stuff and try to make some more cool videos for you. So I'll see you in the next one. Really, really appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no, that I would definitely take as work. Okay.
So this question came from LinkedIn. I asked...
Okay. Back into more pure AI space. Post-AGI education, what is the optimal education experience and how can we get there? And let's see what David has to say.
What is it that people are most excited about and most interested in with respect to artificial intelligence and AGI? If you've been following the news, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that AGI will arrive sometime in 2024, as I predicted. What follows then is, what next? What do we do once we have AGI? What changes? So this question is, how do we reimagine education once we have AGI? Today's video, we're going to focus primarily on K through 12 or primary education, but
and again, when David says AGI, he's referring to AGI like in the lab, that a company will have an AGI. It still feels a little ambitious to me. I guess we'll have to see. I'm more comfortable with the 2049 timeline, but I guess we'll find out. Just lay down. Just lay down. It's all cool. Just lay down. Just take your little paws. Put them here. Then put your butt down. and tuck your legs and go to sleep. Okay? You let me do my thing. What up, humanity?
But I think that you'll see some patterns and trends that emerge in order to understand how this will carry forward into secondary and tertiary or higher education. So to do this, I basically just started with a thought experiment. Imagine that you have $1 billion and you want the best possible education for your child. What would that look like? How would you go about doing that if you had a budget of literally $1 billion and you wanted to spend that on one child? Because while AGI might not produce that level of...
She was drinking water and then came back and rubbed her wet ass face. This is a wet ass P word right here.
Hyperabundance, it is a good way to imagine, okay, what is the absolute optimal education and how do we get closer to that? So one of the first things that you'll probably imagine is lots of one-on-one tutoring with experts. You want an expert.
And remember that, like, when they use numbers as a framework, it's just because we live in a world where... Is Adam here? Do I have any other people from the island? This is woo. But anyways, the idea is just as a framework, right? Like, because people right now and under the current meta have difficulty visualizing a non-transactional environment.
Expert teacher in math, science, biology, history, reading, writing, all of those things. Imagine that you had 20 or 30 top experts ready to tutor your child on a daily basis. That's item number one. Seems pretty obvious. The second thing that you might want to include in a highly optimized education is lots of interesting field trips, novel experiences. Children in particular get a lot out of novelty. If you ever take a small child to an aquarium or a museum or a zoo, they're going to be absolutely captivated by these new experiences, and then they usually pass out immediately after because it is so stimulating and sometimes overwhelming. But that's actually good because that exposure to novelty and new ideas and new experiences really shapes and reshapes their brains. Next thing, number 3, is lots and lots of hands-on time. So one of the...
Within that context, how would you feel about, like, less, or not less, but like, as opposed to going to like an art museum or a aquarium, or even a zoo, the virtual version of that, like, and not like some advanced virtual, but like with the current level of where you put on the goggles and you're able to be in that environment. And theoretically you could run it through a simulation, right? Where it's a simulated version of the zoo where they went around and then did it up with like Nerf or something like that, in order to give you that 3 dimensions, or a robot, right? Like, what if you could virtually go to a museum and move around the museum with a robot that you were able to like control virtually and look through? Do you think that that would satisfy those same desires to go to that type of place, right? Like, I'm not talking about fully foregoing touching grass. I'm just talking about like access to additional places. Like, for instance, Toronto. Toronto has some absolutely first-rate, that kind of thing. Some first-rate, like, things to see, like the Royal Ontario Museum and the Ontario Museum of Science, the Toronto Zoo. Like, those are things that I want to do when I go to Toronto. But there's the trip there, there's a crossing of an international border, then there's, hotel, and, like, did you bring kids along? Are the kids going to want to go through, like, I'll go through the entire goddamn Royal Ontario Museum. A child loses interest, and I say this from experience, right? So, like, that ability, if I could put on a helmet and just engage with the ability to walk around the museum without actually having to go anywhere, I feel like that would have a lot of value for me. You know what I mean?
Biggest problems with education today is that children are expected to sit quietly at a desk, which is basically just making them ideal for office workers or factories. Actually, is when the modern education system came to be. Was we wanted to create people that could sit patiently and quietly and work without causing trouble for hours and hours on end in industrial factories. That's no longer the case. And so what you want actually is you want to facilitate lots and lots of hands-on experience, whether that's with music, electronics, projects, going out into nature, going on adventures. You also want children to spend a lot of time playing and socializing and going on these adventures together, because those kinds of experiences build social bonds, it builds communication skills, it builds emotional intelligence, it builds physical intelligence and resilience. Because what happens when you go on adventures? Sometimes you get a skinned knee, sometimes someone gets stuck. I was on a hike down by the river where I used to live, and there was a group of, I think it was 3 or 4 teachers with children. They looked like they were in kindergarten age, and we were out on the river rocks, and like one little kid like slid down a rock into the river, and he was like up to his like belly in river water. And like that kind of experience, it's like, oh god, that sounds dangerous. But like he was fine, and he learned accidents happen and you get wet and someone will pick you up. And it was just such an enriching experience. And I think that that is emblematic of kind of what a good day looks like, particularly for small children, because engaging with the real world, with the natural world in social environments, very healthy and enriching. And then finally, the last kind of thing that I just brainstormed off the top of my head with this idea of kind of an optimal education, if you had $1 billion and you wanted to invest it in a single child, is lots of time with emotionally mature and socially intelligent adults. And not just adults, but also peers, because part of the problem with the world today is loneliness. Why? Because we are emotionally disconnected, we are socially disconnected, we don't have the social skills, and we have been trained to work in quiet isolation and to basically sacrifice everything for the sake of work. But if that's going away for AGI, we need to focus on more socially healthy people, which is going to be one of the primary ways that we achieve global peace as well. Because if people can learn to communicate and get along and not be so lonely and not be so angry and so on and so forth, education can be a cornerstone of that outcome that we're looking for. So with all that in mind, you kind of have the thought experiment. Let's break this down into some general principles, some objectives, some KPI, and other aspects. So let's take a step back first though and ask, what is the objective purpose of primary education? So in the US, we call it K through 12. I'm not sure what you call it in other nations. I think globally we just call it primary education, followed by secondary and tertiary education. So primary education, I think, is like up until you're about age 10, and then secondary education is from like the rest of your teenage years, and then tertiary education is higher ed. I might have that wrong. Anyways, point being is we tend to break it up into sections. The purpose of primary education, one is neurocognitive development. So being exposed to intellectual and rigorous challenges changes your brain, such as thinking, problem solving skills, reading, writing, math, that sort of stuff. That's just part of what happens is your synapses change when you receive education. Now, it should be noted that humans naturally learn. We actually have a learning instinct, which means I just heard a statistic, something that like children ask about 40,000 explanatory questions of their adult caregivers while they're developing. 40,000 questions. We are naturally very curious, but education is creating an optimized environment to facilitate and foster that, but also to create structure to give children challenges that further enhances their neurocognitive development. Another purpose is emotional and social intelligence. So this is why a lot of schools have, group activities and that sort of thing. They're not necessarily optimized, but they're doing the best that they can. I already mentioned basic literacy and competence, such as reading, writing, rhetoric, so speaking, reckoning or math, arithmetic, ethics and morality. So this is one thing that is not focused on in many primary education systems systems. Particularly, it was absent in America because, you do talk about right and wrong a little bit, in a couple grades, but you don't really study it. You don't study it from an ethics and morality perspective. You don't study it from a philosophical perspective. And we certainly don't engage in, at least when I was coming up in school, in abstract thinking skills and reasoning. So that's something that I think could be added as a core competency. Civic education, this is big. So pretty much in all nations, public schools are part of what kind of makes someone into a citizen of that nation. So that means history, money, economy, politics, geography, that sort of thing. So, legal systems, political systems, those sorts of things. In a post-AGI world where we have less of a need for jobs and more of a need for civic participation, I honestly think that civic education is going to be infinitely more important. And I think that there's probably a lot of adults who need some remedial civic education in the grand scheme of things. Now, that sounds like forced re-education camps. That's not what I mean. But point being is that we have an opportunity to inculcate children as they grow up with an understanding of democracy, capitalism, communism, fascism, all the causes of war and conflict, and also how to navigate those conflicts and how to have a better view of what is the kind of world that we want to build and how do we get there. That means diplomatic skills, communication skills, understanding multiculturalism and integration skills. And I know that some people are going to say, well, I don't want my child learning any of those things. And I actually got you covered. So stick around to the end of the video where I talk about parental choice in education. Oh, and then finally, life skills. Life skills like cooking, cleaning, self-care, paying bills, fixing stuff around the house, those sorts of things. There are many schools that are adopting that into their core curriculum, but I think that that's another thing that should be absolutely focused on in education. So with all that, let's break it down into those general principles, those general goals, and the KPIs that I talked about. There's three basic principles that kind of emerge from this thought experiment. One, holistic development. Holistic development means that education can focus on every aspect of mind and body. So that's not just intellectual development and neurocognitive development and world knowledge. That includes emotional well-being, social well-being, physical self-knowledge like anatomy and those sorts of things, but also just how to exercise, how to eat right, how to express your needs, how to identify emotions. Because some children naturally are more attuned to their own emotions. Some are not. I was not one of those kids. And some of my friends have children that need a little bit more coaching with identifying their emotions and their physical needs. And most children go through a phase where you need to work with them to say, you're cranky right now because you're hungry and you're tired. And then they're like, no, I'm not. I still feel like that sometimes as an adult. So principle number 2 is individualized learning. And so individualized learning means, the topics, the goals, the objectives, the strengths, weaknesses, interests that all naturally express in a child. Now, obviously part of education is kind of creating standards. So you do have to have a set of core competencies that everyone needs. But beyond that, in a post-AGI world, we can really double down on following children's individual interests. If a child shows early interest in chess or music or computers or whatever, double down on that because there is no substitute for passion. And then the third general principle is empowerment.
Passion is one of those words that I'm just not a. I feel like it's overused. I feel like it's overemphasized. Like if you have a passion, that I'm not talking about you, right? Like if you have a self-identified, this is my passion. Like this is the reason that I move. This is when I get up out of bed, I want to get at the thing, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't know if I ever had what I would describe as a passion. You know what I mean? There are things of levels of it's not for me, right? Yes, and this is why I maybe one person would refer to how my interest in AI as a passion, but I would not, right? It is a high level of interest. Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Humanity is I would use different words other than passion. That just feels like one of those words that means something else over time than what I like. Yeah, I don't know. It always feels weird to me when people talk about, that they have a passion. I get really interested in stuff, and then I might kind of lose interest in it for a period of time, but it's always there. And like the right series of events could get that interest up again. Like I might want to try something new in, particular art medium, or I might want to, do some more stuff with, particular music program or anything else like that. But I guess it feels more situational and constant rather than driving. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe you don't.
Empowerment and autonomy. And so empowerment is basically, let's give you the tools that you need to maximize your own personal success and your own personal autonomy. Now, in the West, particularly in America, we already valorize empowerment and autonomy. And I think we can double down on that because this is actually one of our cultural superpowers in America and Western cultures, is valuing empowerment and autonomy really kind of sets.
And this is one of those places that I disagree, like, with David's perception around these things. I think that our cultural mythology has this empowerment and autonomy aspect to it, but like as far as actually promoting it, it generally is used as an excuse rather than a principle. Right? Like you just, pull yourself up by your bootstraps as a concept, right? Like that is technically this idea of empowerment. Like you can do whatever you want, you just have to do it. In spite of that not being the case for a variety of socioeconomic reasons. Right? So, I don't know, man.
It's the stage for our entrepreneurial spirit and our innovation spirit, which is one of the reasons that America is one of the wealthiest nations on the planet. And it's one of the reasons that all of our Western allies, namely Europe and Australia and other English-speaking nations, are also in really good shape. Now, there are downsides to this. Rugged individualism is kind of the dark side of that, but we're not going to really get into that in this video. So, with all that, I think the stage is set. So let me tell you what my distilled purpose of education. Like if I had to say it in one simple sentence, this is the purpose of education, and that is to help students achieve their highest personal potential. That is the mission of education. And I think that all parents, all educators, all politicians can probably agree with that. You might say that, I can imagine maybe a more religious family saying, well, actually the purpose of education is to make them into a good Christian or a good Muslim or whatever. But you can still fit that within the framework of highest personal potential. Because from a particular cultural viewpoint or a particular family's viewpoint, their highest personal potential might be to be a good, pious person, or maybe it's a more secular family. Either way, I think that this universal definition of the purpose of education really works. And so that, again, is help students achieve their highest personal potential. So we've talked about doing a thought experiment. If you're a billionaire, how would you create the optimal education for your child? We've talked about some general principles and KPI and objectives. So as we wind down the video, here's a couple other thoughts that I had. One, I think we should do away with testing, grading, and homework. And there's actually a lot of...
I don't know about testing. I think that there can be value in the right kind of testing. Grades are definitely something I can say they exist more for others than they do for the student, because of if you do the testing, then you can see the areas where the student might need additional teaching, additional time, that kind of stuff. Grades are signifiers to the parents who are disconnected from the class experience, and also grades are part of the whole funding aspect of schools as they currently exist. No homework, 100%. All schoolwork should be done in school. That's it.
Have good evidence for this, but let me explain a little bit more about why I think this is the way to go. So first and foremost, mass testing, where you hand children a sheet of paper that has a few problems on it and they have to, do standardized answers.
Well, Master Goose,
testing
school hours shouldn't be based around the adult's working day. Well, yes, don't get me wrong. Yes, they are, so that, I mean, like we saw with the pandemic, kids home from school, one of the parents needs to be home to watch the kid. You know what I mean? Like that. There is a functionality to that, but like, yes, I agree. Like, I think that even like a hybrid situation where, like, do the kids really need to come to school today? Is this a meeting that could have been handled with an email? That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I get that. I have had 3. So like I have, and then nieces and friends with children. And so like I am more in tune with this. I know that my son went from a standard educational system to a no homework educational system, and that plus like our own involvement, like we're not like helicopter parents, but we are attentive. Like we attempt to work with what's going on. How can we do the thing? Falling behind in something, can we get caught up? Is there anything he could do while he's at home? That kind of stuff. Not quite like Waldorf-y, right? But like, I get it. But like, I'm actually answering your question. This is my show. Why don't you get your own show and then I'll come and give you a hard time. I like, it was one of the things is when my son was doing like history class of certain time periods, it's like, you should be good at this because we've already talked about these things, right? Like I'm educating my son within the ideas of the associative memory. Don't just give them rote facts, connect it to something that makes sense so it stays within their mind and stuff. And also, if I ever get anything coming home from the school that indicates some bullshit that is bullshit, I'm gonna call bullshit, right? Like I have no problem calling bullshit. I do not care, especially when a certain social studies teacher wants to play Fox News in their classroom before class starts or wants to talk about how the left controls the media. I will write a very polite email to make sure that, like, I'm not going to argue with what you should believe, my guy, but I will absolutely make it so that you are not running that not only to my son, but other people. Sorry about your damn luck.
Is a way of basically creating an assembly line of children that are more or less conforming.
But yeah, standard testing as it currently exists it tends towards exactly this, right? Like just, no.
And more or less efficient and kind of performing at the same. No one who's ever worked with children, as I have, thinks that testing and grading and homework is actually a good way. No. It is a good way to...
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, even what like you have the mentality that I think that you could be a good parent in that you would care about the proper things to care about. But you might exist within a system where the system itself is going to hell. And it's like the only thing that is going to save my child is to get them into a school system that isn't going to hell. And I, you know, again, I'm in New York. The school systems are, depending on where you live, fairly good, and like that.
To achieve these things in a scarce mindset. The optimal way, however, the objectively best way to assess children's progress and help them meet their goals and help them achieve their highest potential is one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, and particularly individual assessments. So here's an example. I used to teach martial arts.
See, and that's the thing. An individual assessment is a test, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to do it in that standardized format, but this is like, and now I'm splitting hairs, but I think it's important.
And I specialized in teaching children. And so what would happen is, as a martial arts instructor, I would have children, you know, do their forms, do their moves and stuff, and I could critique them on like, okay, your foot's not in the right place and this and that. And there was no grading. It was, you do this until...
It's just like, okay, if I pull my kid out of there, like, you know, I want to be concerned about the whole thing, but I specifically want to be concerned about my kid. Exactly, right? Like, I don't want to homeschool my kid in the way that, and trust me, that actually came up at one point in time, and I looked into it, and holy cats, it's worse than you think. But the homeschool groups are like, no, but like at the same time, it's like, if my kid is in an environment like that is, you know, creating anxiety and, you know, and no one, like the stuff where like, okay, there's a problem. It is your job as a school to address this problem. You're not addressing the problem. And now my kid gets in trouble for it. We're going to have an issue. Like I can write a very strongly worded email, and I know how to CC and BCC people, and I am good at what I do, and I will leverage.
I, the expert, say that you've got it right, and then you move on. And this is honestly the way that tutors work. When you're working with an individual tutor, does the tutor give you tests? No. They might give you little mental quizzes to check your understanding, but they're not going to give you a grade. Why? Because grades don't really matter. Grades are only a way to ensure mass production of basic competency is done in a very scarce environment. It is suboptimal. Now, even worse, grading, testing, and scores, they're just fundamentally broken in that they create perverse incentives and they cease to be good measurements because of Goodhart's law. So if you're not familiar, Goodhart's law says that anytime you decide to measure something, it ceases to be a good measurement. And so in education, we call this teaching to the test, where a teacher's performance is graded based on how many students get above the threshold of what they were expected to perform. And so if a teacher is given a bunch of students and it's like, okay, you have 5 students performing in the 70th percentile and 5 in the 50th and 5 in the 25th percentile, you're expected to at least help them kind of meet their expectations, if not ideally exceed those expectations a little bit. And therefore you incentivize teachers not to focus on neurocognitive development, not to focus on emotional intelligence, not to focus on any of the other things, just getting them across the finish line of getting that test grade and then moving on as fast as possible. That's what I mean by a perverse incentive, and that's also what I mean by Goodhart's law, is that testing, grades, and homework, all utterly just completely broken, do not make sense. Because like, here's an example. As a martial arts instructor, did I give children homework? No, I didn't care. I wanted them playing. I wanted them doing other stuff other than martial arts at home. Now, if they wanted to practice at home, great. But that's why they came to the studio. Likewise, whenever you're tutoring or mentoring children, and I have done speed tutoring through my previous jobs, whenever you're mentoring or teaching someone, they are there engaged in that moment. You don't want them constantly engaged. One of the social problems, one of the cultural problems that giving children homework does is it sets the stage for them to work hard all day, every day, and burn themselves out. That's why we have a burnout culture. That's why we have a workaholic culture, which if you believe that the purpose of education is to prepare people to be good, productive little worker drones, great. Homework is great for that because it's like, oh, hey, you just sat in class for 7 hours. Now you have another 4 hours of work to do. That's making children work for like 11 hours a day. That is a wasted life. I am sorry, but that is an absolutely wasted life. And all right, now I'm going to get off my soapbox. Anyways, I hope the testing grade.
And there's another, like, to Old Lobster's point and to David's point, the best time for children to be outside is like during the day. It's when they're at school, right? Like they put them in these in the schools, right? With the walls and the paint and just, you know, and how much they look like correctional facilities and all that crap. And they should be more outside, right? Or like more engaging with the world as it exists during the time in which you could do that, and less so or more so like other stuff could be at night when they're not outside, that kind of thing. I don't know.
Grading and homework goes the way of the dinosaurs in the face of AGI. Now, as promised, I wanted to also talk about parental choice. Now, you might have seen I announced on my other channel I'm a pragmatic progressive. And so you might say, well, you know, typically the left or the liberals want, you know, state education and everything to be standardized and equality, total equity. Yes, but when you enforce absolute equality, that becomes a form of tyranny. And
there's no sign-in sheet. There's no nothing. Like, you know, show starts at 5 o'clock. People come, people go. People hang out in the background.
When you look at what has effectively come out of state-based education, completely standardized education, you basically don't serve anyone well, because classrooms have to go at the pace of the slowest students, or those slowest students get sent to remedial class.
Okay, so I understand what he's saying, and I feel that this ignores the primary reason that exists. And like, what is going on in this picture? Look at this car. This is a 1970s, late 70s, early 80s car design right back here, like an old muscle car. Anyways. What do? We did some news, a little bit about the SAG-AFTRA. I think that was a big deal. Some dude's mad because Steam is gonna have AI gaming, and then Matt Wolf did a video on what he's seen so far at CES. That's pretty much it. And then this about education. So within the reason why classrooms are so large, and like children don't get the individualized attention is funding. It has nothing to do with the left mandating equitable education. It's funding. There's not enough funding. More funding, more teachers. More teachers, smaller class sizes. That's how that works. And by framing it in the way that he already has, he has already bypassed that as a concept. I don't understand I understand that the jobs are going to be, you know, that they stand the potential to be automated and like that, but I don't know. I don't know what you can say about the deal. Like, real quick to back up. If this deal was struck without notice or a vote, as some of these people have indicated, then that's a problem. But that's an internal problem. Like, y'all need to handle your own house, right? If this guy, Duncan Crabtree Ireland negotiated the agreement and it's all good, then what is the issue? Like, you put him in that position. And then if I can pay for permission to have an AI rendering of an A-list voice actor's performance for a fraction of their rate, I have next to no incentive to employ 90% of the lesser-known working actors that make up the majority of the industry. I feel that. Like, I understand that pain. Again, I generally fall on the idea that this is nibbling around the edges. You are fighting for wages under capitalism. You're not looking to rejigger the distribution mechanisms. You're not trying to change the system. You just want a bigger cut under the system. And that's fine, but that is a you versus whoever mentality, as opposed to I'm trying to get everybody to eat. You know what I mean? That's how I come down on it. Like, I just don't see, I don't see it any other way. I don't hate on anyone who's out there fighting for their cut and feels that they deserve more and wants to unionize, but as a societal movement, I think it has and will continue to fall short of doing anything transformative or meaningful broadly. And I hope that answers your question, Reed.
But the fast students are not served. The students with different interests are not served.
Yeah, that's
and so
what I'm
you end
saying.
up kind of with this generic bell curve, this general mass, and you end up with entire classrooms full of checked out students, and only a very small minority of students are actually engaged when you have standardized education that is universal, global, and that sort of thing.
Who did you find? What did you do, Boyd? This is something I can open on screen, right? Safer. Thank you. Like, I want to trust you. Oh, Scarlett Johansson. You found the AI model for Scarlett Johansson. Okay. Okay. This is one thing about Jexy, right? As not a fan of this movie as I was, like, before I say anything real weird, how old is 32? Okay, cool. Like, not super close to me, but like, at least I could appreciate this beautiful woman. And then and maybe it's just me. Don't be weird. But like, right? Like, I mean, is Alexander Shipp kind of look like Scarlett Johansson? And I'm good. Like, I'm totally happy with that. That's a whole vibe. Play number 3. I don't even a bit. Maybe I see it more than you. This one. Why are all the audio samples male on Scarlett Johansson? Further in TTS. Where the hell is TTS? Oh, down here. Okay. Oh, God. Of course. Of course. You people.
I'm a perverted lesbian ghost and am going to possess and take over. Body.
All right. Back to the real stuff. Exactly my perspective. Short term, I can understand it, but long term, it's a bit concerned even with the rhetoric against the AI. Voices seem small anti-tech bent. I've been seeing too much blaming the tool like we would talk about. Yeah, and it's like, and just the preservation of the dignity of labor, right? Like that whole kind of thing. And it was like somebody in my Facebook timeline dropped the meme talking about how about it's the work that creates the art, and you got to do the work in the work in this whole little friggin' thing. And I just went out and I found that when I dream, I do not dream of labor. I do not dream of work. I do not have a dream job, right? Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
The thing. And if you agree with me that the purpose of education is to help students achieve their highest personal potential, then state-based uniform education is not the way to achieve that. Individualized education is, and that also means allowing for education that is more congruent with parental choice, family choice, and cultural diversity. So this is where I'm going to, kind of...
And then David, in response to your yes, but, it will respond with my own yes, but. That leads to certain insular views that can cause interaction with an objective reality to an objective reality that it causes difficulties, right? We have difficulties enough as it is, and you are kind of advocating for a position where that is more so. Okay, yeah, people know that it's Wednesday at 7:43.
Use the reverse Uno card and say, okay, well, if we do value diversity so much, maybe we need to value diversity in education a little bit more, because one of the superpowers of multiculturalism is diversity of thought and cultural beliefs in a healthy society. So to
is a voice AI weighted elitist right here. Yeah, and as someone who's authoritarian, I don't know exactly how to come down on this. Like, one size fits all state education is fundamentally flawed, but you really have to, if you're not exposing people to diversity of thought, then you're doing them a disservice.
To say that another way, what makes a society very powerful is not over-specializing. To borrow a quote from the Ghost in the Shell anime, if you over-specialize, you breed in weakness. And so diversity of thought, by allowing parental choice and familial choice and cultural choice in education with some boundaries, obviously you do need to establish some...
Yeah, but also the inverse, David, right? Like,
core competencies, some standards that need to be achieved. But beyond that, allowing that diversity, one, will allow students to better meet their personal needs. Because here's an example. Imagine the child with ADHD who just needs to go every day. They want to act, they want to sing, they want to dance, they want to do sports, they want to go climbing. They need to be in a fundamentally different classroom than someone else who really just wants to read and study things and do math.
Yes, and what if the cultural signifiers or the whatever those cultural signifiers are with the parents are such that the go is like, possession by demons, for crying out loud. This is the problem with not having those kind of standards.
Math and science and experiments. And you can start to allow those natural differences to emerge, and rather than pathologize them and punish students for.
How do I get a student who thinks because of the cultural education given to them under the framework that they believe that the earth is 6,000 years old to understand the concept of carbon dating? Don't give me that look. You brought this up. You opened up this line of questioning, my guy.
For being different. You really, truly value them for being different. And you also allow them to go to schools and environments that are more congruent with their individual culture and that are more congruent with their family values. Part of that is learning to tolerate differences. One of the biggest downsides for this idea is you don't want to create too many little Warrens where you end up with too much in terms of echo chambers and pathologizing people that are not like me.
Correct.
But at the same time, I'm a realist, and I know that humans, by and large, prefer to be with people like ourselves. We prefer to be around people that think, speak, act, and feel the way that we do. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, y'all within, y'all within this chat, on a spectrum, we all kind of exist within the same part of a particular spectrum, right? We might differ on individual views, but we all generally move in the same direction. You know what I mean? And that is what I want to think that David is trying to express there, right? Like, we choose to hang out with each other within these spaces. I have seen many of you in a variety of different chats. So we move in the same general spaces, in that context. If you tighten that too far down, then it becomes a problem, obviously. And that is what I'm advocating against, because that is the lever that some people will do, or some people will use, if you create the system that you're talking about. Yeah, and always remember that Dave is more liberal-esque, or in that sense, and has certain ingrained views that he has not addressed, in spite of his saying that he has addressed. I watch a lot of other David videos, like his system thinking ones, and I feel like he could do some more work within his own framework to address some of those issues, but he doesn't talk to me, and I don't pay for his Patreon. So
part of the problem with politics and education today is that while on one hand we say we love tolerance and diversity, we then pathologize diversity too much, because it's well, you're supposed to feel a certain way and you're supposed to think a certain way. And that's actually the opposite of diversity. Here's where all this comes from. There's a saying that comes from Star Trek, particularly from the Vulcans. It's called IDIC. And I know that sounds funny. IDIC, infinite diversity and infinite combination. And so this philosophical principle basically says there is always value in more diversity. Now, obviously, there has to be limits and constraints, but it's a shorthand reminder, infinite diversity and infinite combinations. It's a reminder not to pathologize something just for being different. And so I say this as a neurodiverse person, and you can probably imagine I was not very well
in that, right? I don't want to armchair psychologize David, but there are indicators in a variety of places that his personal experience and trauma is what informs his views around certain kind of thing and promotes him to, like, in my opinion, overcompensate in the other direction. And again, I would love to be able to sit down and actually have a conversation with Dave in a way that was productive. You know what I mean? I don't say that in like, I mean, to an extent, yeah. Like, especially if you haven't engaged with, you know, therapy and self-reflection and all those things, you know, and there's all that kind of stuff. I mean, basically, I would have to, you know, pay for his Patreon and get into his Discord and then establish a rapport and then look for an opportunity, you know, to engage him in like a Zoom or Discord conversation. Because he has done conversations with people who watch his content, but they tend to be at like a higher professional level. So, like, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know that a public conversation, like, off jump would have a lot of value. I think that it would be the kind of thing where we would have to establish that rapport and, you know, like, be able to have a conversation. I don't know if he would be even interested in that kind of conversation where he's at and where I'm at, you know. Maybe he would. I don't, like, assign any particular value to that. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that David not wanting to talk to me makes David a bad person. David is a very busy person doing, you know, what he values is very high work. So, you get where I'm going.
Served by education in America. So that's where all that's coming from. And finally, to take a step back and say, okay, well, what about higher education? What about secondary and tertiary education? What is the point of that when you have AGI that can replace, hypothetically, all human endeavors? So no matter how powerful AGI becomes, we are still human.
Just by way of comparison, right? Like, I have 619, and I love the fact that we're at 619 because of Rey Mysterio Jr. I think it's hilarious. It's great. But I have 619 followers. I have 1,500 followers on TikTok, which I barely use. You know, so like that's where I'm at. And David has about 500,000 followers on YouTube, and you know, so like. Not that I apply, like, I'll talk to Hassan tomorrow, but I kind of feel like Hassan is more on my level than David is, because David is kind of highly specialized and values his time in a different way. Like, if I was in the AI space doing some kind of work, right, like if I was doing work within an AI space, then I think that I would be able to get that conversation happening. Whereas I am as you find me, and I'm good.
And we will still have aspirations. So there are two kind of levels of aspirations that we will have. First, individual aspirations. No matter how powerful AGI becomes, you might want to dance and sing. You might want to go on challenges. You might want to challenge yourself to learn and grow and achieve whatever it is. Maybe you want to hike up Mount Everest. Maybe you want to discover new math, or maybe you want to participate in particle physics. I don't care. You always will have individual aspirations, and pursuing those individual aspirations, even if AGI replaces humans by and large in a lot of ways, that's not going to take that away from you. And the primary example that I always talk about is chess. Even though computers are better than humans at chess, people still love to play chess. It doesn't matter. The machines never took that away from us. Doesn't matter that they're better. Like, for instance, just because we have microscopes and telescopes that can see better than us, we didn't carve out our eyeballs. We still use our eyes and we still love seeing.
Yeah, the eyeball one went off course, but I think that the chess one is the best one, right? Like, there are very few human beings who are going to want to watch two AIs play chess. There are more human beings who would want to watch two humans play chess. There are, like my experience, I would rather play against video games. I would rather play video games against AIs. I don't like playing against human beings, generally speaking. But the vast majority of people who play video games would prefer to play against other human beings, right? Like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, Fortnite, League of Legends, all that crap. Like, it's all a thing. So, you know, got a whole universe to explore. I don't see Discovery coming to a close soon, if ever. And that's what, like, you know, if I can launch a robot into space and then teleconnect with it, you know, I would like to explore space. I don't want to go into space because space is not good for this meat suit, right? Like, it doesn't do well in the space. Yeah, and again, like, all things to all people. I don't care. You know, it has no effect on me if someone enjoys playing Call of Duty against other human beings. The best Call of Duties, you know, that I have experienced, I like the DMZ, and like, I tend to avoid people, right? Like, I'm just trying to do my own thing, and if I could never run into anyone, it's a good time.
Seeing things for ourselves. So when you compare humans to machines, it doesn't really make sense. It's not even compared.
But Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2, those are really good games to play against other human beings. That I'll give you. Those games, like, the fact that we haven't gotten a real, and I don't care what, you know, Left 4 Dead, we haven't got a sequel to that kind of game is really disappointing. You know, especially, like, Valve should know better at this point. But I guess they warned us all with there's no Half-Life 3, you know.
Comparing apples to oranges, it's comparing apples to zebras. And then finally, there's still collective aspirations. The universe is a big place, and we are still just on one planet. The idea that AGI is going to take the universe from us, like, that's kind of absurd. The universe is a really big place, and I always talk about how one of the most aspirational or transcendent things that I think we're going to have in common with AGI is curiosity. And so this is what I call the great mystery. There is so much that we don't know about the universe, and there is so much that we don't know about ourselves and the world that we live in, that, like, we've got a long ways to go. And AGI is just going to be a tool or a companion or a partner in that exploration. So when you think big, when you think galactic or universal, it is only just beginning. And so if we orient education around these, one, individual aspirations, and two, these collective aspirations, and we focus on that primary signal of help students achieve their highest personal potential, I think that we're going to be just fine as we move education into the future. So thanks for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. Like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. Cheers. Have a good one.
Give me a second for this to...
Al Jazeera Podcast.
Okay. Yeah, they use the director to structure them. AI could do so much more in this niche. 100%. Like, that is what I'm looking forward to. Like, a really granular analyzation of how good, like, again, let's take Left 4 Dead 2 for an example, because I think it's a good one. So you got a total of 8 players, right? Like, basically you got 4 survivors and 4 of the undead hero types, and then you would run through the level, and then, you would swap and do it again from the other side. The AI could not only provide you with a challenging experience that was still possible to overcome unless you made an excessive amount of mistakes or whatever, but also it would help for team balance, right? Like, which are the players who actually work well with each other and which are the players who don't work well with each other, and it could balance those factors out. You know what I mean? That is the data analysis that I want for a Left 4 Dead 3, that kind of game. I hope I'll see it. And I can't imagine I'm the only one who wants a Left 4 Dead 3, so it's just a matter of putting it out there and waiting for someone to put in the work. Okay. I hope this is not just a podcasty podcast. I hope there's faces, but this is Al Jazeera is artificial intelligence, the future of music.
No, Frank Sinatra isn't back from the beyond. But thanks to artificial intelligence, you can now enjoy.
Nope, it is. It's a straight podcast. I'll put it in the thing if you want to listen to it. But that podcast is not necessarily the best medium to respond to. So we looked at, it was either Monday or Friday, the Figure robot. It's another humanoid robot. Looked rather impressive. And
so there's a new update from a company called Figure AI.
This is the one that made Coffee. It's only 12 minutes. I'd like to see what Wes has to say about it and see if he's got any analysis that I might have missed.
That is building robots. The founder of the company is Brad Adcock, and he's been involved in a few different startups before. One of them including vertical takeoff and landing, sort of these air taxis. One of his companies went public, it seems like, and this is his latest venture. And it's demonstrating that this robot is able to make a cup of coffee using a Keurig. So it seems like it was trained end-to-end on video, and it looks like it was able to successfully achieve the task. And it looks like there's also some ability to self-correct mistakes. So here it's kind of doesn't put the Keurig cup in there correctly. It needs to adjust it a little bit, which I do too pretty much every single time I make a Keurig. It's so hard to just plop it in there correctly. So good job, robot. Here's another shot of this robot kind of walking around and moving, swiveling its hips and whatnot. So it's able to walk. And so this isn't his first technology company that he got off the ground. So it says here, since founding his sustainable air mobility company, Archer Aviation, in 2018, Adcock has moved on to a new startup, Figure AI. So Archer Aviation is a vertical takeoff and landing, sort of like an air taxi that's kind of like an Uber, but for the air, so it can take off, T1. Fly around, stuff like that.
Why would I have a robot make coffee? That's right, Susan. Well, we haven't all reached that level of streamer where we have our own Susan, but we could have our own robot. I understand. I don't know why Adam Savage is on here. I didn't put Adam Savage on here. Wes did.
Looks like Adam Savage went on there about a year ago to see how well it performs. So one thing that was interesting to me is that, they have a lot of demos for these air taxis. They have a lot of really cool animations. Here's, for example, this is where the people watch over how the thing is flying around, right? Because it's supposed to be, autonomous. Nobody goes in that cockpit. It just kind of flies around by itself. And these are the people that sort of monitor what is happening in there. Here's kind of a shot of how that's supposed to look like. I mean, this is an animation. I don't think that's actually flying around New York City. And here it's going to be being taken out for a test flight. So again, this is about a year ago. So this is December 22nd, 2022.
Nothing but love for Adam Savage.
Wheeled out on a little cart. Not sure why it's not able to move around by itself, but so they pulled it out, right? So the propellers move up and then, it starts.
The reason why they pulled it out of the hangar as opposed to did it itself is airport safety. That has nothing to do with nothing other than the way the airport safety. Just a dude watching another dude watching a tube. In this case, I was a dude watching another dude watching a tube.
So it's able to take off. And this is supposed to be completely autonomous. So there's nobody in there. It's fully either remote controlled or, flying autonomously. So it sounds like it flew about half a mile, they said, out. It was able to turn around and then fly back pretty low altitude. And then it was able to land once again. But I can't get too much actual footage of this thing, flying around, how well it does. There's a lot of really cool cinematics, like there's these shots where it's nice and polished up, but here's some people walking towards it. So it is on the stock exchange, but it looks like it doesn't have any revenue yet. And so at the end of 2023, so he's publishing this AGI. So he's showing like new lab ready for 2024. It says AGI lab. And then they posted this new video with the robot making coffee. So interestingly, the person puts the coffee cup in there, not the robot. So what's interesting here, so that, this gentleman comes in carrying the Keurig machine or whatever this coffee machine is. Since the robot makes the coffee right afterwards, the machine must be plugged in already, as you'll notice. I mean, he's carrying it, but there's a cord. So it must be, he must be standing just outside the camera with the machine plugged in, and then he carries it over here. The cup is already in front of the robot. And then, so he sets the Keurig machine, he sets down the Keurig, the K-cup next to it. And I'm calling it Keurig. I don't know what this might be some other brand or whatever, but the little coffee pod right next to the cup. And then he's going to pick up the cup and put it into the machine. And then he tells the robot, hey, make me some coffee. And then the robot goes to work. So he opens up the Keurig machine, inserts the little container in there and closes it, and then pushes the button. Now, I might just be being paranoid here, and I apologize if I do, but we've had some shenanigans with a lot of these demonstrations before. We had a few founders going to jail because they just, instead of building an actual electric vehicle, they just rolled one off a hill and then somehow, use that to raise a bunch of money. So I'm not saying that this is the same thing is happening here, but I mean, it does look a little bit weird because it does seem like they've used the cup as a marker almost for, placing it right next to the cup so that the robot, he picks up the little pod right there that's like resting against the cup. So as you notice, it's resting against the cup. Then he takes the cup, he puts the cup in there, and then he's asking for the cup of coffee. So the robot, right, he goes in and he picks up that thing that's resting right there.
Yeah, and I will say this, like upon further reflection, and I don't know, but there was no looking at the pod, right, at the K-cup. Like, when I'm driving, there's a difference between how you look at your mirrors when you drive and how you look at your mirrors when you are doing your driving test. When you're looking at your mirrors during your driving test, you need to kind of exaggerate it so that the instructor knows that you're looking at the mirrors. I would like to have seen more of that, you know what I mean? Like, more, I guess, exaggerated motion to indicate that it was doing what it said it was doing. Just found my next job, red teaming robots. Instead of putting a K-cup down, put a condiment cup down to confuse it. Now, I mean, that's fair. Like, it needs to be able to do determine which is a K-cup and which is a sauce packet. What up, Textilian? I want to see this Boston Dynamics style, throw the coffee maker, the robot, kick it while it's filling the tank with water, put the coffee cup on the end of a hockey stick, plug it at the robot 100 miles an hour. I mean, that would be much more impressive, right? You find me a robot that can grind beans, I'll make it a French press, and make it in a French press, then I care, but a Keurig... You got it. Tech bros love their Keurigs. I do, like, until you hit, like, senior tech bro, and then you get it back into artisanal coffee.
There. So I don't know. I mean, I would love to see more with this so we can tell exactly what's happening here. Dr. Jim Fan reposted this. He's the senior research scientist at NVIDIA. And this person, I believe, was...
I had a Keurig. I thought it was cool. And then, like, I started consuming more coffee. And I like went, San Francisco Bay just had the ring. They didn't have the full on cup. So it was a ring, and then it had the little basket beneath it. And the plastic ring was made out of, that corn plastic. So like the whole thing was recyclable and that kind of stuff, like, or biodegradable. Because I saw the flaw with, like, you're generating a fuck ton of plastic cups, a metric fuck ton of plastic cups, and that's a terrible idea.
On the Voyager paper and the Eureka paper alongside Dr. Jim Fan. So he's saying, 2 years ago, I was shopping for a coffee machine at Target. I found a perfect Keurig, not for me, but for my robot. Round tray to insert a K-cup, lid open/close with weak forces, meaning you don't have to push hard to lift the lid, and then coffee out with one button click. There's no magic. Human ingenuity is behind every robot success. And so here he demonstrates, so as you can see, you're able to open it with just a slight push upwards.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like you're also missing the point. Like, yes, you can do this, but this was designed for you to do this. The fact that a robot can do it has a level of impressiveness. And the fact that this robot learned by watching rather than being programmed to do it is the impressive part. Jackass.
Put the cup in there and then you push it down. And so he's showing how coffee making can be done with just 2 fingers. And then, so they bought that machine back to the lab, and they were able to get an end-to-end imitation learning policy to solve the task within 2 weeks. So as you can see here, this little machine with just a little pincer grasp is able to pick up the thing, put it in there, push down on it, and hit the play button. And so they were able to build that within weeks with that one arm.
Right.
And the trick there seems to be, just picking up the right machine to make the coffee. So notice it doesn't touch the cup. It doesn't touch, it just picks up the little K-pod, puts it in there. He's saying he's very happy to see that, his work has inspired many great works in the community, including the recent breakthrough at Figure.
I don't know. I've heard the one Playboy Cardi song where Old Lobster made it go in my voice, and it was definitely one of the songs that I've heard. I apologize. I feel like I went off on this dude a little hard, and like he was being inspiring, I guess, not pedantic. I'm used to people being pedantic around automation. So I'll own that L as well. I don't care.
Robot, which you can see here, incredibly does the same thing. Bravo. Bravo. Let's take a listen to this clip with the founder and see what he has to say.
So really what we're doing here in a nutshell is we're trying to be able to build a automation system, a autonomous automation system to be able to do human-like work. We've are now walking our first
my guy on the left here. Right? Like this is the generic dude who appears when you fire up the game and you go into character creation. And he's probably a very nice person. I'm being mean.
First generation robot, and it's now doing complete end-to-end applications in our lab here. So we're hitting a button and it's doing like real human level.
I don't know, like y'all say the left guy, and I don't disagree, but this dude is awful smooth, right? Like, who's seen Deep Space Nine is all I'm saying, right? Like this is one of the Odo aliens
level work, which is pretty crazy. And we're working to now to make that much more robust. We are running our AI systems and inferring all that on board with really powerful GPUs. We have like several thousand teraflops of GPU capacity in the next generation robot that we're bringing up right now. So I think this is, again, not a really thing where we want to introduce autonomous systems into the world. Wasn't really possible. And I would say the last thing that's been a tremendous breakthrough for the robotic space has been the emergence of large language models. So we're going to be able to take a robot from the warehouse into your home through language. So there's just this need for like a semantic grounding of all the world's knowledge that we're going to get through language, meaning I'll be able to, as a robot, interact with a human, be able to understand what you mean, and to be able to actually plan tasks based on what you're saying. And we're going to use all that through language. And we're spending a decent amount of time here now with our AI team, building different types of vision language models to be able to demonstrate those capabilities with any kind of variability that we might.
Yeah, and again, we meme, but this leans into that conversational interface, like I was talking about before. That you're not going to code the robot to learn a task. You're going to be able to teach the robot by doing, right? Like tell it what to do the thing. We'll get to lower and lower iterations required to learn any particular task. Like that one, the Aloha is at 50. I don't know how many this one's at, but we will continue to get lower and lower iterations. So like you're going to be able to get the robot delivered to your house, show it how to do a thing, and then it's going to be able to do the thing. And that's the future. Without any code. I mean, that's what Zilla warned us about back in my favorite version of that meme is the one where it was Internet Explorer and it's like you download Chrome. Back when all that made sense. Zilla told us that, is the idea of teaching the hammers how to suffer is like, is it ethical to teach it how meaningless a bunch of the labor that we do, or will it learn on its own? And will it offer us improvements? Right? You don't need a house this big. We should get you a smaller house that's easier to clean.
I see it's going to be relatively impossible to hard code these answers into the robot to be able to do. So to be frank, we do have C++ code in our systems. We do have control algorithms and stuff, but over time, I think that will be abstracted away. Over time, this will be basically a fully neural net run system. And we're trying our best to get there as fast as possible, but it's hard because we don't have a fleet of robots in the market.
So there's a lot of things that he's talking about here. So here he's mentioning that
possibly, like I hope they are Nemesis. I don't know. Like my man, Old Lobster, pines for the good old days of April. of last year, and like, is there something that we're doing by interacting with the chatbots that, like, I assume that a lot of people are are using the chatbots for good works, but I've been on the internet long enough to know that people will also use the chatbots to do terrible things. This is Descript, by the way. This transcription program on the left here, this is what Descript looks like. Do you see how it underlines the uhs and the likes and the ums? This is what it does. And with one click, you can eliminate all of those, and it will just semi-seamlessly. It doesn't, it's not perfect, but it just clips those sections of the video out all at once and makes it so that, like, it doesn't, you don't, all that kind of stuff.
Large language models have been a great breakthrough, and that his team's building different types of vision language models to be able to demonstrate these capabilities. So he's not using something that's open source. They're building their own large language models from scratch, it sounds like, with his team. He's saying we do have C++ code in the systems, but
and then we talked about before about the idea of embodiment being part of development of, of intelligence, and that having a body is going to be a key requirement. And this could be one of the examples of it. And this is like, when I think about that and I think about it in context, it does cement me more on the idea of the open source, because the information that is gained within this process could be valuable to streamlining other processes and moving them along. Last one I talked to was making a very careful case about how humans are obsessed with work for a number of reasons, like social status. It's not wrong.
Time, it's going to be a fully neural net run system. So I've listened to a few interviews with him to try to kind of understand what exactly they're building, kind of like what their competitive advantage is. So he was on Ark Invest. So he was on, I guess this is the Peter Diamandis podcast, the Moonshot podcast. So a lot of what they're talking about is very general. So it's hard to understand exactly, well, where are they? What have they accomplished? What's their new thing that they've been able to do? Because, with Google, with NVIDIA, with a lot of these other people, they publish the research so we can take a look at it and we see, okay, here's what they're doing. And other people can try to see if they replicate it. Here's kind of like, well, they're saying they're building their own vision language models, which seems like it would be pretty difficult to do, especially at a time when the AI talent, the people capable of building something like that, is very scarce, right? If they're in the Silicon Valley, right, they have, everybody hunting after that talent, right? They've got OpenAI and Google and Microsoft, like everybody all over the world that's a player in this game is trying to get anybody with any ability to work on stuff like that out of the market. The GPUs to run something like that is very expensive. I think GPT-4 was estimated to cost something like $60 million. So he's saying he and his team, they're building the vision language models for the robot. Like, I'd be curious to know more about that. Any like details on that? What's interesting is one of these podcasts that he's doing, he's saying, so the robot is up and it's walking around. It's working right now. It's walking around the warehouse. Like, he seems to be pointing like in the background, like it's working. And Peter, I guess, says, call it over here. So I don't know what happened. I guess it's not available. It can't walk over.
Yeah. So the robot is up and it's working now. It's working today. We're walking.
Call it over. Come on over.
So we'll be putting out. We're going to try to build in public as much as possible and keep basically everybody abreast of what we're doing.
So yeah, I don't know. I wish them the best of luck.
And again, this falls into, based on the environment that they live in, doing stuff like that just off the cuff is going to make these kind of people uncomfortable. We had less than a year ago, the whole thing when Google rolled out Bard and it didn't perform as expected, which led to, $100 million loss of some type, right? So yeah, these people are going to react in that way, and I don't blame them because of the reinforcement learning that they received. If the market was less sketchy vibes and more actually like well thought out process, then you could make mistakes, and mistakes would actually be encouraged, and failure would be encouraged without undue repercussions. But we don't live in that world.
But before I would get excited about something like this, I feel like we got to have a little bit more meat to sink our teeth into. I would love to know exactly how they're making this robot function. He is saying that they're going to be doing more sort of building in public and showcasing a lot more of their work and showing videos and what the robot is doing and stuff like that. And we would all love to see it. Hopefully it's going to be kind of unedited videos, because they produce excellent demo videos, really cool, shiny looking things. But can we just see it like the uncut, in the warehouse, unproduced, unpolished, just have it walk around and do, pick up stuff, and just so we can see kind of like what it's capable of doing right now. If it's doing real work in the warehouse, can we just, like pull out a phone and just like get an iPhone video of it, like walking around doing stuff? That will kind of, I think, really show that they have something, because right now it's so hard to tell. So with that said, my name is Wes Roth. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a fair, that's what I'm looking for as well. I want to see, and sorry, weird person, we're not going to get to your video again today. Yeah, exactly. Like, but like, ultimately with all these things, like when the guy from LG or Samsung, whichever it was earlier, was talking about, the TV processors, they have 8 times more whatever and 16 times more whip-de-doos and all that kind of shit. And it's like, but what does it do? Right? Like I need to see more. What does it do for that robot? I need to see it like kind of happen in real time. You can do time lapse, right? Like where you do 50 iterations, but I would like to see that in order to really appreciate it, that it's not, because it could have been like everything has to be just so in order for the robot to make coffee. Anyways. That's going to be it for today. Again, we'll be back Friday with more AI content, and yeah, but what does that do, T1? And we'll also be talking with, one second. I can only do one thing at a time sometimes. We'll be talking with Talerx and Dr. Yasmin regarding AI and robot rights. And yeah, no movie this week. Sorry, but it still should be an interesting conversation with 2 of my favorite people to talk to on the platform. So I look forward to that. And, hopefully Matt will find us some good stuff at CES, and who knows, like AI changes every day. I'm still excited. All right. So drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy loves you. Ferris loves you. So do I. Go have fun at Computers. They're great.